Hey everybody, welcome to the Podomatic show today. The micro effect had I don't know, we had some issues there with the station network, so I'm not sure what was going on. So I'm going to give you an introduction, letting you know that it's me broadcasting the remedy. I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you can locate us at the micro effect when it's working. And you can find us also at Bye Bye Blue Sky, or find me also at Bye Bye Blue Sky. As well as throughout the internet. We've got Canada and other places as well. Before I start, I'm going to remind everybody that this is the weekend. This is the weekend. We are here. We are just about there. Now we just got to set things up come the weekend. Hopefully we'll see you guys there at the Green Show at the Toronto Convention Center. It'll be April 6th through 8th. Come on in, say hi, and we'll be bringing a bunch of triangles. We're going to be bringing a bunch of different things for you guys to see. Hopefully we can build some stuff while we are there. Hopefully I don't forget anything. And hopefully we can be informative and give you what we can to keep you on top of things so that you can defend. We have so much going on today. We have never been exposed to the likes of the things going on. So hopefully Bye Bye Blue Sky will be there. Other activists will be there as well, myself. And hopefully we can give you different methods and approaches to, taking care of yourself and then helping each other. Look, the key here, and I'm going to point this out, and this is going to go especially to those who are the targeted individuals. I've been getting calls all week. Well, actually, for the last 3 weeks. From targeted individuals from all over the planet. Australia, New Zealand, India, Africa, the Middle East of all places, across Europe, different parts of Europe, England, France, or the United Kingdom, I should say, France, Germany. I'm sure they're going on in Italy and Spain as well, and Spain, Portugal, whatever. Across Canada, South America, Central America, U.S., everywhere I've been getting calls. If they've heard about me online or through the internet, I have been getting some kind of call, email, or some kind of contact through Skype where, people have been letting me know that they've been hit with frequencies, they've been hit with different things. And the biggest thoughts is suicide. Now, for those of you who don't know what a target individual is, a target individual has been selected by a institution, by a military operation, by a government agency or government agencies, by corporations, by the pharmaceutical industries, by the medical industries, corporations, industrial companies, you name it, to try their new wave of technology or technological advances on an unsuspecting public. And a lot of times they're using what's called voice-to-head technology. Now, in this voice-to-head technology, people are being afflicted morning, noon, and night. Some are being activated with frequencies. Some are being hit with frequencies, since we are all being hit with some kind of frequency throughout the day, every so many hours in the day, midnight till between midnight to 2 to 4 a.m., 5 to 8 a.m., 11 to 12 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon, 5 to 8 at night, and repeat 11 to midnight. Everybody's being hit. Everybody is an actual target. You are nothing special. If you think you are not having anything happening to you, it's because you're still in La La Land. And you are still in that dream state and you don't have a clue. Till the bottom falls out. Everybody is going to get their ass handed to them sooner or later. And my suggestion to you would be to pay attention to what's being said now, so that when it comes down your way, okay, then you'll say, that crazy Canadian he was pretty right. He said, boy, he told us the way it is, blah, blah, blah. That guy, because now you're calling me crazy, and that's okay. I can handle being called crazy. You can call me whatever you want. I really don't care. But when it falls to you, when it falls to you, there ain't going to be no running. There ain't going to be no hiding. I get calls to me all the time. Is it safe in Canada? Is it safer in Canada? No. Is it safer in France and Europe? No. The same shit that's going on in the United States and Canada and throughout North America is going on across Europe, across the Middle East, down to Australia, New Zealand, across to Asia. Don't think for 1 minute that the Chinese are not having the same kind of crap going on to them. Okay, in Russia, doesn't matter where you are on this planet. This technology, the blockchain that the artificial intelligence is inserting on this planet, is far-reaching, ever-reaching, and reaching everywhere. And there is no safe place. So you have to make your place the safe place. Now, my suggestion to all you TIs that have contacted me, get together. Form a more perfect union. Form a community. Start investigating these damn frequencies. I'm going to give you a link. I'm going to talk about this link in the show. And start coming up with solutions. Don't expect an effing guru, and I'm going to tell you that way, an effing guru, to come out here and save your ass. It's not going to happen. The only thing these bloody gurus are going to do is sell you bullshit just so they can line their pockets. A lot of these gurus are in the pockets of the corporations and the pharmaceutical industry, and they've been painted to be the hero or the go-to guy to hear whatever bullshit of the day is, and so that you buy into whatever product. The latest one is the C60, which is a lot of horseshit. All the way around, pure horseshit, and it's a sabotage. And my knowledge of the C60 Bali fullerene, what you all need to do, who have gotten sucked into that stupid bullshit, is start looking up Bali fullerene C60 toxicology. That's what you should be looking up. These guys selling this shit is just basically hucksters. What's happening is this stuff is carrying programming, and it's in a liposome, and it will carry into the brain, dump its programming, attach itself to the brain, and then do its thing. They want to tether everybody in the head. This is what they want. They want a construct of a tether to be put into the head so you can be linked to the artificial intelligence. That's Elon Musk's insanity. That's his solution for us to be more equated or up-to-date with the technology, if you will. Yeah, you know, he's saying that we'll be like, if we're not like that, we'll be like a cat and a dog that we have today, pets. Well, it doesn't tell you, he's not telling you that once that interface occurs and you're integrated with the artificial intelligence, you are no longer a free will person. You are now an automaton or extension of a programming that can now be connected to. And the carbon C60 is a high concentration of graphene, a highly conductive material that can have programming inserted to it. 1 nano carbon fullerene can carry a terabyte of data. Imagine that downloading into your brain. Imagine that downloading, period, or attaching itself to your brain. That's what this is going to be doing. This is going to be delivering this crap into your brain because it's wrapped in a fat. And this is the and then what happens is then they fire their frequencies at you, and you think you're hearing the voice of God. Oh, I heard God talking to me. God wants me to take all my shit and sell it and go in the middle of nowhere so I can find spiritual attainment, higher levels of spirituality. And then you go to those places, you're now left all by yourself. You have forgone anything that you knew, and now you are being attacked, exploited, targeted, frequencied, having your DNA rearranged, and you're just the experiment they're looking for, and they sent you into the spot where they want to exploit and experiment on you. If the voice of God does talk to you, there better be something substantial, like a burning bush, like Moses had. There better be something substantial to validate that it is the Almighty giving you the word, and not some voice to head technology. Let me get back to the TIs, because I just sort of jumped over that. You guys with the TI, you're hearing all this bullshit. You're hearing the voices. You're hearing, oh, you can't win. You just give it up. Surrender. What's the point? You can't win. What are we going to do about it? We can't do nothing. We'll just go along to get along. Or whatever bullshit is being put into your head. Okay, you need to stop that right in its track. You need to stand your ground. Stand your ground. And the way you stand your ground is you say, these are not my thoughts. I've been dealing with shit all for the last 3 days since I've been helping TIs. Couldn't believe what's coming across my head. But I know where it's coming from. So it's not driving me mental. It's just frustrating me that it's got that kind of a hold, that it got a hold of me. You need to stand your ground and state emphatically, these are not my thoughts. Where is this coming from? And start pursuing that. You need to start looking at ways and means to blocking frequencies and to defend yourself against frequencies. You need to stop listening to gurus who are selling you bullshit by the pound. Anything that has to do with nanobiology, nanobiotechnology, synthetic biology is to be avoided at all costs. Any integration of this bio-nanotechnology or synthetic biology will begin to alter your very core of your DNA and your genetic code. The epigenetic and transgenetic materials that they will be putting into these products will further cause mutations and breakdown. As we get older, our DNA becomes subjected to, again, breaking down, and we start to change. And I have noticed that with people in their 30s, because they're consuming genetic and epigenetic and transgenic foods. Anything that can alter your DNA and your genetic code, this is the reason why you're aging, because your code is being complicated, confused, made to be dysfunctional, and being, redirected. As long as the DNA double helix can repair itself, you sustain your life. But if it doesn't sustain itself, you become broken down. You begin to age exponentially. And this is why you have to, like I said, use your brain. This is why I tell you to read the labels on the supplements. Any silica material that they tell you is good for you, they are FOS. They have known that silica is a carcinogen from way, way, way back. Whether it's in a natural source or not, it is carcinogenic. This is the insanity that I can't get over, which a lot of these medical whack jobs and quackos out there propagating these products. They have, or if they've not seen this, or if they're looking at this aspect of 1 or 2 studies which shows it has some kind of positive effect, and they're not looking at the other 99 studies as saying that it is no bloody good, they're selling. That's it. They're just selling. Anytime you're looking at the term polyfluorine or C60, C60 means carbon 60. It's a graphene-like material. It is harder than diamond by a factor of 3. It is harder than steel by a factor of 100. There is no way you can break this down. A high-powered laser beam can only crack this. That's it. A high, powerful multi-hit with a powerful electromagnetic field pulse or pulse electromagnetic field is the only thing that disengages it. It doesn't break it down. It disengages the program, whereby then it lets go and is released. And they want to sell you this as a product. This is why I'm telling you, start looking this up. Okay? Don't just look at the so-called studies on the antioxidant properties about blah, blah, blah. You better look at both sides of this picture and don't get stuck on that one thing. The internet will propagate something. Anything that they propagate in high volume usually is to sabotage you up the way. And we've had many examples of this in the past. Soy is, right now, is the top of the line. You know, anything that has to do with soy products, isoflavones, adenosine, dasidin, has all been proven to be nothing but bullshit. And they have propagated this in the industry. To this very day, people are still stupid enough to go into a health food store and buy soy. This is mind-staggering to me. But that just goes to show you how a program has been in place, put into place, and what winds up happening is it stays there, and people just follow the program with no longer looking at the complete facts of what's going on today. And anybody's going to tell you that some of these things are great and wonderful and blah, 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 and all this stuff hasn't done the research at all. Anybody that's going to propagate anything like this hasn't done the research. They're just looking at the current status. They're looking at, you're stupid, I'm going to make money. That's what they're looking at. They are looking at that. Okay, they are looking at the fact, and what they're looking at is you don't have a clue. You're stupid, you're ignorant. We can tell you whatever we want to tell you. We can sell you whatever bullshit and you are going to buy it. We have established a trust factor with these people. We can lie to them all we want to. Why are the vitamin companies putting in these materials that they know damn well is carcinogenic? Why? That's because they're following the so-called GMP, or Good Manufacturing Practice, which was instituted by the FDA, which then made the vitamin companies that were not putting in these products before having to be put into them now, because now they have to do it the same way that the drug companies are doing it. Buy your stuff in bulk. Let me read this to you about the so-called C60. That they're telling you the radioprotective effects of nanoparticle DF-1 of fullerene with antioxidant properties was evaluated in zebrafish embryos. Hold on a second. Read this. Let me see this. Maybe look at the wrong one here. Let's see. Okay, basically. Was this ionizing radiation? I'm reading the wrong thing here. Okay, this is about radiation. Sorry, I got the wrong one. Look at this one. Human exposure. Okay, I got the wrong thing here. Alright, well, let me read what I have written down here so that I can go by this. There he is. Okay, C60 fullerene toxicity and electronic properties. Okay, they were looking at the fullerene buckyball. Okay, the thing you want to look at is the term fullerene buckyball C60. Constitutes a particular group within the field of nanotechnology. Fullerenes find applications in medicine, industry, chemistry, blah, blah, blah. The in vitro and in vivo aspects of pristine C60, along with chemical modified C60 molecules, they were evaluated. Quantum properties in C60 molecules in context with the implications on cellular factors and metabolites. The evaluation shows that the reactivity and quantum chemical properties of C60 can have unexpected effects in the cell by principally absorbing metabolites such as oxygen and hydrogen ions and alter its reactivity. C60 is solely based on empirical studies. Okay, the C60 studies right now that they're talking about as far as some of the benefits is all based on empirical evidence. The absorption of divalent zinc ions, which shows an increase in the reactivity of the C60, that presents an important pattern of chemical state reactivity and toxicology potential. So basically, the zinc in your system can cause a reaction with this. Results evaluate the toxicology potential of C60 from a different angle than conventional by applying a blend of critical review and findings on C60 toxicity, their chemical and electronic properties. When we're looking at this stuff, start looking at when you hear something online, anything online, the first thing you do is start looking at the research on the toxic factors of whatever they're trying to sell you. You're going to find time and time again a lot of these things are going to be a surprise to you in regard to you know, what they are selling you, what the reality is, and what is really going on. Because like I said, when we're looking at some of the wonderful things they got here, okay, all silica products, doesn't matter which one they are all on a nano scale. Because again, I'm jumping into this too, because this is all part and part. One, C60 is a carbon 60. So you got that going on, you got silica going on, you got titanium going on, and nano biotechnology, synthetic biology, nanobiology, all loves carbon. That's how it assembles and replicates. When you're looking up in the sky and you're seeing the expansion of those chemtrails, the reason that can happen is because the amount of methane and which is a form of carbon, is up in the atmosphere, and the stuff is just using it to assemble. Continuous, here we go. How dangerous this compound is, and that the FDA allows it sprayed in unfinished foods not labeled. And most people, it doesn't cause an acute reaction. It does cause a reaction. After the body gets rid of the silicon dioxide, it's introduced into a continuous crystallization inside the body. Continuous crystallization inside the body. Liquid crystalline matrix inside the body. It starts crystallizing to itself. I've been telling this for a long time, forming larger crystals. This thing will assemble itself without even a frequency, and then when you attach it to other technologies to it, it just goes haywire. You will see the crystals forming. Some are as small as a little dot that will reflect the light. Others are as big as a red blood cell and are obvious crystals. And anybody who's got nano poisoning, or nanobiological poisoning, or synthetic biological poisoning, who have pulled these crystals out, you're not the crazy one. The ones that are crazy are the ones who don't have a bloody clue, and they're ramping and raving about some sort of pathology or biology, and that's all they think. Oh, it's some fungus. It's a Morgellons. It's you know, it's an alien from outer space. It's the black goo. The black goo, another theatrical pile of bullshit. I also know that he was seeing a lot more artifacts in people's blood. Don't really know what they were or where they were coming from. I had somebody call me as well a couple years back. They were using the same kind of a scope. What was it calling it? A dark field scope. And they were seeing all kinds of shit in people's blood, and they didn't know what it was. And then they contacted me because they saw my video on the nano. And so I explained to them, I said, okay, you probably saw in the blood, an assembling process, materials that look like threads or wires that would seem to be attaching themselves into the blood and assembling some sort of circuitry. And they nodded yes. They agreed to what I was telling them. I said, you probably are also seeing in people on the skin certain geometrical patterns. And I said, you're also probably seeing as well different kind of chips, whether they be amber, crystalline type chip, silica, carbon. You're seeing dots that are glowing. These are your quantum dots, or acting like power cells, like all kinds of things. They concurred everything I said. They said they seen the same thing that I've been talking about. He also noted that there's been seeing a lot more artifacts in people's blood and don't really know what they were or where they were coming from. So when you're looking at the stuff that we've been telling you, okay, this is what you're up against. You're up against something so diabolical, it has to be completely demonic. You know, I don't care what your adjective is or your adverb is on this, whether you're calling them, you know, fallen angels, or you're calling them aliens, or reptilians, or archons, or whatever the hell you want to call them. Okay, it's demonic to the core. Demonic to the core. Okay, when it's sprayed on food, it acts as a drug delivery system, just like it says above. Its properties allow it to coat proteins, gluten, amino acids, to artificially transport them into the body. Essentially, it acts to force injections into us. So when you said they expected there might be forced vaccinations, that already is happening through the food. There's already evidence that titanium dioxide nanoparticles cause iron uptake dysregulation in chicken intestinal cells. And amorphous silicon dioxide acts the same way. And they knew this in 1960. And this is your diatomaceous earth. This is the silica gels they're selling. This is even the horsetail. When you're looking at some of these things that they're telling you is so great and wonderful for you, over a period of decades, these things have a tendency to accumulate. As they accumulate, they create mayhem in the programming. They cause severe challenges to your DNA. In fact, they can override your DNA. Start looking at research such as 1,600 consumable products, that have nano in them. Why do they have these products in your underwear? Why are they next to your genitals? Why are they next to your breasts? Why are they next to your ass? Think about that. These are spots that can be very easily infected and create DNA and damage to a point where you can then start manifesting cancers as a result of an environmental exposure. Okay, this is important that you understand this, because like I said, you have no idea what they're doing, what they're going to be doing to you with all these things that is happening. When we're looking at some of the stuff that's going on, I've been warning you about toilet paper. Now let me read this to you. I got to read this something. Again, I'm going to go off a little bit here. I have a tendency to, I want to change things up so you don't fall asleep on me, because sometimes you say, God, Tony, talk too much, whatever. Hey, Tony, I want to share this with you in hopes I can encourage someone else struggling with this. One of your podcasts, you briefly mentioned to use washcloths instead of toilet paper because of the nano, and it's been about 2 months now. I haven't used toilet paper or feminine products, and my bladder has stopped leaking from coughs, sneezes, jumping, puking, laughing super hard. It's about 90% back to normal. Also, my cervix is healthy, no bumps on my walls are well lubricated, and the wall lining is thick. All the health benefits just by not using toilet paper or feminine products. Thanks for the knowledge you've imparted with me. Now, you women, I'm talking to you now, so you get what I'm saying here. This is going to sound a little crude and a little bit salt of the earth, but it's something that's biological, and because it's biological, this will affect you. Whenever you use a tampon or a pad during the time of the month, using a tampon, you're basically shoving this thing inside you. It expands. What happens when it expands? Then the blood gets in and soaks the blood like a sponge, which is the intent. But something else goes on. Your body produces a mucosal barrier to protect the lining of your cervix and your insides, but also you produce a biofilm because of the synthetic material and the sanitizing chemicals that they may have in there, which triggers an immune response. Then what winds up happening is you go to pull out the pad, leaving behind fibrous materials stuck inside the cervix, which are synthetic, which then can cause unwanted health issues. You're feeling sick all the time, you're feeling nauseous, you're having a hard time with your periods because you got leftover chemistry from these hygiene products, which are designed to cause a toxic shock-like effect in your physiology. So this is, and when I talked about this, I even said when you're going to the washroom, and this is for both men and women, because the toilet paper is loaded with bisphenol A and all kinds of other crap. Every time you wipe your arse with toilet paper, a lot of the nano compositions and the chemical compositions now get embedded in the anal cavity, which then can get absorbed through the intestinal tract, which then can get translocated through the system. It's all chemistry. Start using a washcloth. Take an old washcloth, soak it in water, wring it out, wipe yourself clean. It's a cleaner way of doing it anyway. And then wash the washcloth with some soap and water so you can reuse it again. And then eventually throw it in a bucket of bleach, let it soak, rinse it out, and then you have a sanitized washcloths. This is something everybody can do and use. Stop using some of the BS that they're selling you. It is a convenient factor. Oh, it's so convenient. Just pull it out, stick it in, done. And you're open. You know, that's how they sell you the product. You know, think about what is going on. Think about we are no longer living in the good old days. I have to say something. Those of us born in the 50s, you know, we think about our childhood when we grew up, and we really never had good old days. We just had days of endurance. You know, we had to go through stuff. We endured a lot of things. There was a transition going on during our time when we grew up. Our parents were the slaves, and then they took us and tried to program us. And as a result of the programming, we got afflicted with all kinds of chemistry and chemicals that we had to have, apparently, because it was good for us. Later on, 20, 30 years later, everyone's dying of cancer. Everyone's dying of some autoimmune disorder. Everyone's dying of diabetes. Everyone's dying of some thyroid issue. Everyone's dying because of some organ malfunction going on. And that's because for the last 50 years, we've accumulated all this material day in, day out, annually, biannually, quarterly, you know, every decade. And then we had children. Our children has this stuff now embedded in their DNA. The new wave of kids being born today are going to have nanobiology, synthetic biology embedded in their DNA. One woman wrote to me today and said, "Oh, my daughter, 26 years old, never had a normal period. I don't think she can't get pregnant." I wrote her back, might not be a bad thing. Could be a blessing that she can't get pregnant. And that may sound kind of crude and heartless, but I'm looking at child comes into this planet, it has to face 45 vaccinations within the first 2 or 3 days of it just coming through the pipe, coming through the portal. And then it has to go through an educational system. And then it has to go through all the other rigmaroles in this life, which make absolutely no sense. And on top of that, the child's now been infected from day one with a technology or technobiology in its very cellular core and its matrix. So I think there's enough kids around on the planet right now. If you really want a child, maybe you might want to look at adopting some child, you know. Until this environmental nightmare with nanobiology or synthetic biology is removed from our environment, we are only bringing in this environment mutated life forms. It cannot be anything else. You know, it can't be anything else. Like I said, I look at everything today in a whole different light. If I could have missed coming to this planet, I would have. I got drafted. Here I am. You know, it's a standing joke between me and some of the other activists who have different belief systems, and I tell them all the time, I don't share your belief system in this regard. This is my belief system. It's a whole different one, you know. And I tell them I was standing in line, and God said who would go, and I took one look, and I said, not happening. No way. You're not coming there. So when we stood in line, God asked the question, everybody took 3 steps back. Here I am. So anyway, some of you will get it, some of you won't. Anyway, and that's a bit of humor, so don't get all spiritual with me and all religious with me. It's just what it is, just some humor, just to lighten up the mode. We are in nano times. We are in synthetic biology times. We are in artificial intelligence times. They want to push artificial intelligence. It's already running the show. Some of the things you're reading where they're saying it's only going to be a couple years before something is happening, it's already here. If you're reading that, then that's 5 to 10 years outdated. A lot of the stuff that we're reading is that far outdated. That's why we're always playing catch up, because of the stuff that we've been told or hearing or whatever has come, and it's already, by the time we get to it, they've already been 5 to 10 years into it. So don't be disillusioned, don't be alarmed, don't be, you know, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Okay, Getting back to where we started in the beginning. Those of you, even if you're not a targeted individual, form a perfect union. Start a blockchain. Be the blockchain. Have people connect with other people who are like-minded. Start sending emails. Hey, blah blah blah. We want to do this. Who do we talk to? You know, how about you being the go-to person? How about you being the part of that blockchain to get people together? You will find most people today who are targeted or awake are pretty much alone. And they're alone for a reason, because they don't trust the outside world. They don't care for it, number one. They don't trust it. They don't want to be a part of it. But a lot of them are suffering some things alone, and it can be difficult for anybody who's suffering to be alone. For a lot of people. Some people like myself can be alone, prefer being alone. It's easier. I can get more done. I can study more. I can do things. You know, it's just how, that's just how I'm wrapped. I can be with people. I don't need to be with people, or I can be alone, and I don't need to be alone either. I can go either way. But when I need to get stuff done, it seems that I work better and more effectively when I am alone. I do collaborate with other people all the time. You know, we get together through Skype or through some medium, and we talk, spend a little time together, exchange ideas, and then we go and start working on these ideas. You know, that's creating a network. Go through an email, you know, start a Skype connection with people. Talk about what. Don't just be a victim. What are we going to do? I'm a targeted individual. Oh, you're going to go through that initially. Don't stay there. Don't stay there. Pick up your socks, move forward, start doing your homework. How do I block an EMF? How do I block an ELF? How do I block a microwave? How do I block a scalar energy? How do I block an FM and AM signal? When they gave us FM was basically breaking down our DNA, and we didn't have a clue. Jeez. You know, I look back and I think how bloody stupid our generation was. And then I look at the millennials today and I think, oh my gosh, you know, if we were stunned and we were the intellectual ones, the millennials coming out today are beyond stunned, and they have no intellect. They just have programming. They know how to follow the program. This is a dangerous precedent for people to be only in that state. You know, only in that state. It's terrible. It's the way it is. It's just the way it is today, you know. And again, we need to understand we're living in those nano times. You know, we are living in nano times. You know, so start looking at frequencies, AI. You know, start looking at how do I block this, and then don't look up patents. Look up other research. Work on something. See if you can develop it. See if you can come up with something that actually can block a frequency. Something that might stop the DNA damage. You know, something that can help, you know, keep your mental faculties intact. It's important that we start to look and work together and exchange ideas. It's imperative that this goes on and happens. This is the only way any remnant will be left behind to be able to continue, period. There won't be anything left. If this goes unchecked, there will be nothing left. It will be completely integrated into a device. Okay, let me read this first. Silica radical induced DNA damage and lipid periodization. An effort was made to determine the generation of superoxide radicals by an aqueous silica. An aqueous silica. Where have you seen an aqueous silica? Particle suspension formation of singlet oxygen by freely fractured silica. The role of the free oxygen radicals in DNA and DNA damage and lipid periodization, and the possible dependence of silica-induced DNA damage on molecular oxygen. Electron spin resonance and spin trapping were used to detect oxygen radical generation from aqueous suspension of freshly fractured crystalline silica. DNA strand breakage assays were performed, measurements were taken in oxygen consumption and lipid periodization. SOD radicals and single oxygen were detected in aqueous suspensions of freely fractured silica. By the ESR, aqueous suspension of freshly fractured silica were observed to cause freshly aqueous suspension of freshly fractured silica were observed to cause DNA double strand breakage via oxygen dependent free radical mediated reactions. It caused double strand breakage. Do you know what that means? If one strand of your DNA breaks, it has another one there that it can actually replicate or duplicate in order to repair itself. Well, when you have both strands broken, it takes a long time for that part of the helix to recover. But what can happen is the nanoparticles can now insert themselves through XNA attachments and assemble in the places where the double strands are broken, and thereby causing great duress on your DNA, and your immune system can alter the way you think and can start mutating you. Okay, so when we're looking at how silica reacts with superoxide dismutase, it is basically a lethal combination. Hold on. The role of oxygen radicals in silica-induced lipid periodization was suggested by the 49, 52, and 75% inhibitions of lipid periodization by superoxide dismutase catalase and sodium benzate. See, now if you take sodium benzate and you combine that with DMSO, it actually pulls silica out. Like I said, so all you need to do is go get some lime juice at the grocery store. It's got sodium benzate to it. Add a cap to 2 caps of DMSO to it. Shake it up. Add a teaspoon of that to your drinking water and drink that several times in a day to pull out this crap. Okay, and let me get to the fun part today. This is called Lily Wave and Psychotronic Warfare. Now this is going to be, again, directed primarily to targeted individuals and others. I had a husband and wife come see me the other day, and in their visit they told me that the wife saying, my husband's driving me crazy. He can't remember nothing. He does stupid stuff, and I don't know what's going on with him. He's just, when I figured that's a typical marital thing, you know, it's a Canadian, European kind of, you know, foundation, the way things work. So, somebody had just sent me this article or this research a day before. It's called the Lily Wave. How many are you familiar with the Lily Wave? Let me read to you about the Lily Wave. So this is something else for those of you with targeted individuals. Go look up Lily Wave. So you haven't. So when you see this research, you begin to understand what is going on. Okay. So let me, it is described as a biphasic electric pulse which stimulates the neurons of the brain to resonate at a certain frequency. Thus, the Lily Wave has the ability to control the brainwave patterns of the brain. Those of you who are hearing the voice of God, pay attention. There is, however, a far more advanced form and largely unknown and suppressed purpose of use of the Lily Wave. The water molecule within the brain can be made to resonate at the desired frequency. This causes the electrons that comprise the brain's electrovoltages to also resonate at the same frequency. It is not, now the only way a lot of times this can happen, or happens more efficiently, is because there's something in the cell where it can grab onto, but here is something that can now cause the electrical conductivity of the cells to modulate at the same frequency that it's being targeted with. Now, it's not, hold on a second. It is not requirement, as is understood by the majority of science, to implant electrodes to cause brain's water molecules to be entrained to a certain frequency. It can also be accomplished by any waveform that can penetrate the skull and then cause the entrapment of the brain's water molecules. How many of you are using a cell phone? How many are using Wi-Fi? How many are using any kind of device like a remote control to stimulate a transmission? If the frequency is at a certain wave, it can then affect you as well. For example, radio waves emitted at frequency at 40 Hertz target a person's brain will train the water molecules to a degree of 40 Hertz, and thus the rest of the brain's electrons will also resonate at that frequency. In this manner, it is possible to stimulate and control the brainwave patterns remotely with electromagnetism and also acoustic waves. However, it's imperative to understand that if the wave is not biphasic, it will result in damage to the brain neurons and cause what is termed brain damage. It is not the case that only brain water molecules can be entrained. It is also true for the blood sugar ion within the cellular structure. Okay, what is sugar? It is a carbon. Carbon is what? A superconductor. What is iron? Iron is also a conductor. So you've got two conductors here, okay? So keep that in mind. Within the cell structure composing the neurons of the brain and various other elements can also be entrained to resonate at the desired frequency. Possibly the reason for the attack on tobacco and nicotine is a super blood sugar regulator. Okay, it also can help reboot the brain. That's what nicotine does. It's called the nicotine factor. When you light it up, creates cytokine, and cytokine, cytokinine rather, again helps regenerate the brain. If a molecule targeted by a wave that resonates at the same frequency as the molecule will explode. Sugar is a crystal, and crystals, when stressed, broken, or deformed, release an electric and electromagnetic charge that is also known as triboluminescence. The effect of the exploding sugar crystals is quite damaging to the mind and brain. It creates extreme confusion, dizziness, and also a state best described as lack of awareness or apathy. How many of you are with somebody involved in a relationship or married and are seeing these situations? How many of you are having these problems yourself? How many of you are targeted? How many of you have been driving down the road and you're driving for about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe 2 hours, and your mind is gone somewhere, and by the time you wake up, you're at your destination? Could be possibly that you were on autopilot, and that autopilot, while you were on autopilot, this was happening to you. Effectively, the Lee wave frequency is a secret military application. It's known as the madness frequency. The Los Angeles riots were said to have been the first open test of its capacity to mass control anger and violent responses from the mobs. Furthermore, there are other profound effects of entraining the brain cells, brain and blood iron molecules, one which cause the iron to condense together via resonate attraction and dump within the brain. This has the effect of causing the iron to be magnetized and rush to top to your head, resulting in a rush of blood to the head, extreme confusion, and dizziness. It can also be reversed, which can cause draining of blood from the head, leading to all-out unconsciousness. So in other words, we can bring it up, causing aneurysms and brain blood vessel damages and brain damage, or we can bring it down and drain the blood from your brain and cause you to be unconscious. Because again, through oxygen deprivation and other things. In short, the Lilly wave is best described as a targeted resonance on the brain molecules. So again, when we're looking at this information, okay, let me read this other part, okay, just before I go on. Artificial thought and communication. This is the best third step in the Blue Beam project. Goes along with the telepathic and electronically augmented two-way communications where ELF, VLF, and LF waves will reach for each person from within his own mind from the smart grid technology, convincing each of them that their own God is speaking to them from the very depths of their own soul. This has already happened with a lot of people, and they've contacted me. The HARP, Gwen, Wi-Fi, CD phone towers all can carry they all carry the Lily wave, and this wave will be amplified with 5G. They can take you out in your own bed while you're sleeping. You would never know what hit you. You'd be on the other side of the pearly gates wondering how you got there. Time to form a more perfect union. Time to form our own network and blockchain and start collaborating on each other's research, sharing the information that we have with each other, what we're seeing working, so forth and so on, and to keep people up. The C60, carbon C60 that they're talking about would be amplifying these frequencies in your brain. The whole bloody thing is a bloody hijack. Day one, they put this in there. They are preparing everybody for the new and improved targeting beams. If you're a targeted individual, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you haven't been targeted, you will be. Don't think of yourself as excluded from this club. If you live on this terra firma, if you live on the planet Earth, you will be subjected to some kind of targeting sooner or later. And it'll start beginning with the nano poisoning embedding itself in you, amplifying its replication and its network within you. And then when you get to a certain point, these transmissions will hit you, causing you to have all kinds of expenditures and network explosions. And you may have problems on the skin. You may hear high-pitched frequencies hitting you. You may even hear voices. You may see television shows pop in your head. You may hear musical songs pop in your head from the radio. And you will feel, again, a lot of times agitated, angered, or lethargic and apathetic, or you come to a point of surrender. Oh, what can I do? What am I going to do? Oh man, I can't do nothing. What am I going to do? Fight. Stand your ground. Use the gray matter between your ears. Start looking at ways to neutralize these things that we're getting hit with. Electromagnetic wavelengths transmit long, short, FM wavelength radios and TV, telephone, wireless signals or energies. They are also responsible for transmitting energy in the form of microwaves, infrared radiation, visible light, ultraviolet light, X-rays, and gamma rays. The Lily wave can be neutralized by pink or white noise generators connecting to non-voltage AC, ground, and neutral to the home's power grid. In other words, you have to have it off of a power grid. Don't use it. Basically, hook up a car battery with an inverter. That's what you'd have to do. Again, work together. Again, hold your ground. Again, get pissed and good and pissed. And I don't mean going out and buying a bottle of alcohol and drinking that. You may do that too, but it's not what I'm referring to. I mean by getting pissed. Get pissed that you've been violated. Get pissed that you have had your rights and your choice of free will and free movement being taken from you. Get pissed that these things are targeting you to cause you to become compromised and damaged. Those of you who have issues going on in the face could be because you're being targeted in the brain to create the wave-like effect in your face that again would activate the nano in your face or the nano poison or synthetic biology, or to cause again mutations to occur. Don't give up. Stand your ground. Stand your ground. So I'm going to leave you with that message. Stand your ground. For those of you who want to, go to my website, augmentinforce.com. Take a look at the nano information there. I cannot emphasize that enough. Look at the nano synthetic biology. Look at the glyphosate. Check out everything, but for sure, look at this. Go look up Brian 396. I think Brian 396. Is it Brian 396 or Brian 369 or Brian 396? Now I've lost it. Crap. But anyway, Brian and I have collaborated on this for years. We've been working on different things. We've expanded our research. He is now putting up sites on YouTube and other places, DTube and other places. Go check out his information as well. Don't hold back. Don't be afraid. Get informed. You cannot be able to do anything unless you are informed. You're not going to find anybody in regard to the level of information and the depth of the research that you're going to find other than myself, Brian. Brian is going to have a lot of stuff. He had a lot of stuff before him and I even got together. He's got a ton of stuff. He's doing his research and his due diligence. He's very advanced as well. So listen to him as well. Don't just, give up. Don't just, And I'm going to tell you something, Brian 396. I'm going to tell you something. Okay, we will both help you. And we may hold you by the hand for a short interim, but you are going to have to learn to stand. Learn to interact, learn to carry the load, learn to do the research, learn to do the development. Okay? It's imperative that you become autonomous, not tethered. That's been the problem. Too many tethers. You need to be free. Christ said, whom the Son of Man sets free is free indeed. So be free, by G's. Don't just be a tether. And don't allow yourself to be tethered. All right. Before I go on, let me remind you one more time. April 6th to 8th, this weekend, it's here. Bye-bye Blue Sky. Susan Marr and other activists are going to be up at the Green Show in Toronto at the Convention Center. I am also going to be there with them. Hopefully we can make some noise, get you awake, turn you on, get you excited. You can take over. I can take a nap. Hey, I'd like this. Come on down if you can. Feel free to, stop in if you're there, say hi, exchange some ideas, see what you can find, talk to us, see what, hopefully you've got better ideas than I do. I hope so. So check us out. Again, you can go also to my site, augmentedforce.com. Feel free to access the information on that website, all of it. There's a catalog link if you're interested in buying things. That's there too. The information is all there for free. You don't need your firstborn. I don't need your credit card. I don't even need anything from you. All you need to do is access, download. The information is yours. Don't hesitate. Don't fret. Just get it. And again, Brian396 also has a website up. Check it out. Bye Blue Sky also has a website out. She's got stuff on the nano. Look at the health link. Look at the nanomorgellons link. Check it out. So you got 3 different sources, advanced sources that can help you get to the bottom of things. So again, feel free to access. All right. We'll be on Thursday, and then after that, I am on my way to TO. So anyway, till then, to your health, stay healthy, stay network, interact, get that blockchain going. All right, take care. Hey everybody, welcome to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access this show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com and click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, solve some issues, and save the planet. What do you think? I'm also published all over the place, byebluesky.com, which this weekend is the big weekend. We're there April, I said August last time, April 6th to the 8th. We are going to be there showing and teaching and experiencing the truth about nano, chemtrails, genetics, transgenetics, chemtrails, more chemtrails. Are you getting the gist? We're going to be there again collaborating and with other activists as well to get everybody informed, active, and getting everybody going. So we're going to be there. So I'm also published at other sites. You can do Google searches on me, Yahoo searches. Just type in Tony Pentelresco and you may find yourself at a YouTube or maybe at a pod or at the Micro Effect or wherever you may find me. I've been getting calls from a lot of targeted individuals. I mean, there's not a day that goes by where I'm getting a call from somebody telling me that they are a targeted individual. And I want everybody to be aware of this, because you may not think this isn't happening, or this may not happen to you. I've been getting calls from targeted individuals from all walks of life. I've gotten calls from India, Catholic nuns, which are being targeted. I've got people calling me who are of the Asian persuasion of all kinds. I've had people from the Hispanic culture contact me. I've had people from the suntan region. Kids call me, those from the African background and the Caribbean background call me. I've had people from India call me. I've had people from Europe call me, across the United States, across Canada, across South America. This is Australia. I don't want to forget the people from the land down under with all the thunder, New Zealand, Kiwi, and Oz in Australia. This is going on globally. 5G is going on. It's already hit in a lot of countries. The United States is not going to be the first country to have 5G up and running. I got news for you. It's already up and running in a lot of other countries. Okay, and they've already been experimenting with it throughout everywhere, including Canada. For those of us in Canada thinking it won't reach and touch us, that would be a lot of bullshit on the highest level. And I want everybody to understand this, because you could be next if you aren't already being subjected to some kind of testing to see how certain frequencies are going to affect you. We talked about the Lilly frequencies the other day, and as I was collaborating with another colleague and friend in regard to frequencies and stuff, when we started talking, he sends me this other link. And I'm like, holy jumping Geronimo. And I mean, this thing is huge. It's about a 30-pager. It's called Remote Neutral Monitoring. So let me repeat this. www.greatdreams.com/rnm.htm. It's funny how God brings things into our lives. Things that, surprise the hell out of me most of the time. And I kind of look up and he had, okay. But anyway, I want you to look at remote neural monitoring. Sorry, not neutral, remote neural monitoring. And you need to pass this to everybody in your network. I will give you some examples of some of the things that can happen. You can be driving down the road, all of a sudden your mind goes blank and you are being entertained in your thoughts with whatever is being played in your head. You could be made to feel pain and suffering in parts of your body without having anything or anybody touch you. You could be seeing things that aren't there. You could be hearing things that aren't there. How many of you are hearing frequencies, with the different modulations that are going on? Sometimes those frequencies are directly being targeted at you. When you tell people, do you hear that? And they say no. Sometimes they don't hear it because they're so used to it, they just think it's background static. Other times, it's like they don't hear it because they are not the ones being targeted at that moment. You are. So this goes on and on and on. And this gives you the history of how this shit got started. That's what it is. I'm not going to hold any punches tonight with this one. If you are have an aversion to strong English, you might want to either put on a censor or a filter because I'm not going to hold back. This is really horrific. And this is starting off in the educational school system. They start this at a young age. You have kids picking on other kids. The bullying section may not even be a bullying thing going on, but an actual frequency that's being activated to target people or have people being targeted among young children. This can go on. This does happen. This goes on when you grow up and you are trying to find some kind of peace and quiet, and no matter where you go, you're being agitated for no reason. This is, again, a form of targeting. Now, what's the answer to this? Number one, if you hear in your head, you can't win, surrender, it's useless, pointless, you don't even know what to do, you don't even know what we're doing, we got you beat, we got you over a barrel. Have an attitude of fire in you. Have an attitude of fire in you. If you're going to go, take them with you. That's an attitude of fire. Let me put it to you in another way, because some of you don't get that aspect either. And I mentioned this story before on other channels. When I pointed out, how immigrants from Vietnam that were leaving the island at one point in time, when the U.S. military was leaving, the South Vietnam Vietnamese were getting on boats that were overloaded, knowing that they were going to die if they got on those boats, that there was a good chance that they were going to die. They had no out. It was either going to be, killed one way or another. And they took their chances with the ocean, with a boat that was, at best, weak, at best, to get to the shorelines across the Pacific. Anyway, they endured and they survived. Some survived, some died. But there was no out. There was no option. There was no, stick your head in the sand or up your backside or whatever it is you do and hope it's going to pass. There was nothing. It was either do or die. That's it. And when you're in a position like this, where you're being targeted, you're in a position of do or die. That's it. There is no compromise. There is no making a deal. There is no nothing. Not a thing. It is do or die. So when we're looking at what to do, number one, when you get those thoughts going through your head, fight back. Get up. Fight. Get up and stand your ground. Stand your ground. All you got to do is stand your ground. Number one. Number two, recognize that this is bigger than you and you're going to need help. I would have a talk one-on-one with the Great One. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about the Almighty. Because this is going to drive you into the hands of God, one way or the other. You'll either stand before Him or you're in His hands, one way or the other. So you may as well get over whatever pride you got and have a talk. Number three, get together with other targeted individuals. The problem with a lot of you targeted individuals is you're afraid to talk about it. Because if you talk about it, people are going to ostracize you and they're going to say you're crazy, what's wrong with you? Understand this. When you talk about it and you get people telling you that you're crazy, blah, blah, that's the matrix or the artificial intelligence talking through these people, or the devil if you want to go that far too. The devil or some spiritual demonic force talking to these people to, again, make you quiet so you don't make other people aware of what's going on. So you don't talk about this anymore. So you don't, because if you start talking about other people say, hey, yeah, I got that going on too. I thought it was me. I thought I was the crazy one. I thought, geez, what the bloody hell? What, and you'll get people to start to get together. True story. True story. I was gone for a while from this area. I'm from this area originally. And so I left for a while. Really, I had left to go to an island, just to give you the whole concept of the Job Moses thing. This is what I had to deal with the Almighty. I was done. I was going to go to an island. I was finished. I had it, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't get past the Rocky Mountains no matter what I did. Boom. Couldn't go nowhere. Then God redirected me down to Arizona, where I met a bunch of other good people down there, Christian people, believers, whatever, and they were involved in a war. These people are fighting. I've never seen Christians like this before. These Christians were fighting. They were fighting chemtrails. They were taking on a Goliath of Goliaths at the time. They were taking on genetics. I mean, I say, oh man, these are my kind of people. These guys are fighters. And anyway, it was a good experience. I made great friends while we're down there. Great friends. And we stayed together all these years, and we've networked, we've exchanged information, and we've helped and we have supported each other in the process. Anyway, long story short, I wound up back here where I'm at now, and when I got back here, I started telling everybody what I had seen going on in other parts of the country. Well, they all said I was crazy. Tone, you quit smoking them herbs, buddy. Get in your head, all kinds of crazy stuff. Because everyone knows I'm a herbalist here, Oh, Tone, you're doing too much of the herb, man. Leave the herb alone. That kind of stuff. Put the herb down, buddy, Anyway, told one guy what was going on. He told me I was FOS. No problem. I'm FOS. The next day, he goes to bingo in Michigan. An 80-year-old woman gets up in the middle of the bus and says, see those effing chemtrails, just like that. This is why I went FN. His eyes are popping out of his head. He calls me up the next day. Hey, what is going on here? This woman got up in the bus. She's saying what you're saying. Hey, what? Hey, and he paid attention. Shortly thereafter, within 6 months, people started coming through my door after I started talking about it, and they said, "Told you see those effing chemtrails." This is how they talk here. We're talking in tongues here. This is how Canadians talk sometimes. We speak in tongues, salt of the earth style. So it became a slow process, but now more and more people have gotten turned on. Don't shut up. Don't be quiet. If someone says you're crazy, says the crazy one is the ones who doesn't know what's going on, who's assuming that everything's all right in the world because their life hasn't been affected yet. Give it time. If it ain't nailed down, it's going to be shaken loose. That's what the Bible even tells you. If it ain't shaken down, it's going to be rattled loose. So, and that's happening. Everybody had thought that they had security, and they had this, and they had that, and they had the dream of that big house and that big fancy car and that big money-making job, and oh man, the scenario of the married life and kids and all that stuff, and it turned out to be a fiasco, a big lie. The whole thing's a nightmare. What you have to do to get that dream costs you your soul. Primarily, and we're seeing the effects of not saying nothing. So when we're looking at, what's going on today with those of you who are targeted, get together. Now, when you get together, don't start talking to how you're a victim. This is already an assumption that you are a victim. We already know this. When you get together, start thinking, okay, how do we take no prisoners? How do we kick butt and take no prisoners? How do we solve this? How do we go about understanding what's going on with us? Compare notes. Compare what you're feeling. Compare what you're thinking. Don't dwell on the fact that you're being a victim, but share these concepts with each other, because in this sharing, in this exchange, you will figure out how the frequencies, what part of the brain the frequencies are targeting. And then maybe you can come up with an alternative. One alternative is to wear a Faraday cage-like component on your head. Basically, what you would take is some copper mesh with a copper band, create a covering unit where the mesh would cover your head and the band would go over your forehead. This will block the frequencies from targeting your pineal hypothalamus axis and pituitary. This will help you, again, help you maintain. When driving down the road and you notice all of a sudden you go a short distance and you come back and you're exhausted, that's because your head has been hit with high velocity frequencies, because you're moving at whatever velocity you're moving in. 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, whatever, you know. I shouldn't say 200 kilometers because somebody might actually do that. You know, 100 kilometers, 120 kilometers, which is basically between 65 and 75 miles an hour. For those of you who are still speaking the tongues of MPH, miles per hour. In Canada, we have kph, kilometers per hour. So, and I can convert, I can, you know, I have that capacity to, you know, interpret the tongues, if you will. So when we do the conversions, it's like, you know, 100 kilometers, 62.5 miles an hour, or I just rounded up to 65, to 120 kilometers an hour, which is about 75 miles an hour, give or take. So you understand, you're driving down the road, you're bebopping, you're not thinking, zoom, away you go, and now you're getting binged in the head. You got windmills, you got towers, you got all kinds of antenna popping you every which way. And by the time you go from point A to point B, you come home and you're mentally exhausted. That's because you've been hit with a variety of frequencies. So one of the things that really does help is create a Faraday cage over your head, or a Faraday hat. Now, you can wear aluminum if you like, but I prefer copper. And so basically you can go online, go on eBay or Amazon, and get the copper mesh they use for rats. It looks like a tubular copper thing. They put it inside plumbing sometimes. Rats get in, they get entangled, and they basically suffocate and die. But you can use these things because they stretch. They go around your head. So you put them around your head, tie a knot at the top, get a band that goes over your forehead, wrap it up around the band, I stitch it up, mine up with copper wire, so the whole thing's copper, and then I wear that when I go out. And I tell you, it does make a difference. When you go to bed at night, put that copper cover over your head and attach a ground to it, a direct ground. You'll be surprised how all of a sudden you can sleep. Now, I've also created a vortex device, which we are going to be showing again. When we're up at the show, we're going to film it, and Dave contacted me finally, and he said, Tone, we're ready to film, so hopefully we'll get going not this weekend, but next weekend, and that's some of the things we're going to get up there as soon as we can. The vortex is some of these things that can help you. But start coming up with different types of shielding. Put aluminum barriers in your home, copper barriers. Paint with aluminum oxide and iron oxide. Mix it so that you're getting about 7 to 10 grams of each in a gallon of paint. Same thing with or lead. Get about, again, 14 grams of lead paint powder. And mix it in with your paint. Paint the outside and inside. Ground the inside directly to a ground. This will at least mitigate the attacks on you in your homes. If you can find lead shielded shades, we had them. They made us give them away because they were dangerous and they had lead in them. God only knows that they might kill you if you look at them, that kind of thing. Get them, find them. If you got to order them from China or India or Timbuktu, get them if you can. If not, the next best thing then would be to take those shades you've got and spray paint them or coat them with a coating of lead or the iron oxide and the aluminum oxide. You know, I don't give a, I'm not one for, I can be artsy, but I'm more practical. I don't care what things look like as long as they work. That's how I look at it. Now, this will mitigate you being assaulted in your home. There's no guarantee that once you step outside the house, you're going not to get hit. Now, the next thing is, you have to either go to work, school, or do something outdoors, go shopping, whatever. And the moment you walk out that door, you're going to get beamed and reamed by a beam. Okay, wear some mirror lenses. Number one, the easiest access to your brain is through your eyes. Wear mirror lenses that can be deflective. Wear that piece over your head. Put a toque over it so nobody sees that you've got it if you're worried about the cover. Have the portable grounding unit on. So if you do get hit with a frequency, you can disperse it elsewhere. Wear different types of material like copper, for instance, copper bracelets. I'm making magnetic I make a magnetic copper bracelet. What I do is, okay, I'll show you how to do this for those of you who are targeted. Go to your hardware store and buy the magnetic tape. It comes in a roll. It's anywhere from $5 to $10 depending what you want. You can get it thick or you can get it thin, whatever your budget allows. These are magnetic strips. What you do then is get some magnetic tape, which you'll have to order, copper tape, real copper tin tape that you can order online, because I cannot find it where I'm at in Windsor here. Order it. Then what you do is you peel off the roll of paint, measure it so it goes around your wrist. So you got the measurement so that you got a little overlap so that you can put, because you're going to put magnets there as well to hold it in place. And then what you do is you tape it up with the copper tape so you cover it completely. Then bend the magnetic wrist material and then put a magnet on so that you have the north-south, so that when you put it on, it'll clip on by itself almost. So what you do then is you tape over that with the copper so that it's completely covered as well. And now you've got a magnetic copper band that can help you deflect some of the frequencies. You can even attach, if you put a piece of copper plating over that and tape it on, you can even attach a direct ground to that piece while you're, working or whatever. So you got a nice piece of jewelry that looks professional, and you can run a ground to it so it can discharge you while you're doing your thing. These are some of the things you can do. Okay, the other things you got to stop doing, you got to quit eating any form of silica and carbon. The silica has been in the grains since 1960. Silica is a superconductive material combined with carbon. That would be your grains. All your grains are non-organic. Anybody who's telling you that you are eating an organic grain, let me explain about organic so you understand how they're getting around this, so you quit getting deceived. Because I talked to a woman earlier today, and she was still kind of, slipping in and out of this organic thing and trying to blame us for all the problems on the planet. So no, I'm not taking the blame. The blame falls on them. Yeah, this is the other thing before I get on to that. If anybody says that we are the problem of the planet, we are not the problem. Especially UTIs. If you get it in your head, you're the problem, we got to get rid of you, you're useless, you're no good, you're useless, you're no good, you're useless. You'll hear this. You've heard this all your life from a lot of you. You're a bum. You're dumb. What good are you? You're good for nothing. You've always heard that. That's been the program that's been running amok on us forever. They've been pumping these frequencies at us forever, even pumping them through people, where they're talking and speaking what the frequencies want them to say. Stand your ground. I always tell everybody, God didn't make junk. If we were made after the image of God, as it says biblically, then you are one of the highest creations ever. You're made after God's image. That means you're not junk. That means you have value. That means you have an outstanding worth, since you are reflecting God. You may not reflect God in behavior, but you reflect His image. That means you have great value. So when you hear people telling you this, you then have to say, wait a minute here. God made me after His own image. I have a great value. I may not be of any benefit to this person, but then who cares? That's how you have to look at it. Don't allow anybody to bullshit you into that thinking. We are all of great value, all of us, and especially those of us who are trying to seek the truth and try to live by the truth, contrary to the overwhelming illusion that's going on right now on this planet. That's an overwhelming goal, if you sit there and think about it, to try and live for the truth, or try to seek the truth in the world of illusion and deception. Think about that. And if you're doing that, that makes you even more outstanding, because you are now at this stage following the principles of your Creator, of God. So when we're looking at silica, Tony, industrial sand for sandblasting. Okay, keep things in context. If you're exposed to the dust of silica dust, whether it's sand, diatomaceous earth, or any other form that's out there, and you're breathing it in, you are breathing in a nanoparticle. All forms of silica are on a nano scale, all of them. And so when they tell you when you're consuming diatomaceous earth that you're not absorbing that could not could be further from the truth. That's a lot of horse hockey, pure and simple. What's going on there is it gets into the colon and then it permeates through the colon. You know how they tell you, you get tiny little holes penetrating the colon and they're blaming it on different things that you're eating? Well, those things may exasperate the penetration because the colon has already been penetrated through the silica you've consumed. Now, when we're looking at silica, if you go on my website, augmentinforce.com, go down to the directory of content section and access the nano transformation link. In that nano transformation link, you will see in there a PDF, research dating back 1960. And you will see how inundated the food supply has been adulterated with this particular matter. And then they try to sell this crap to you in the health food store. It's unbelievable, really, when you sit there and think about it. Yeah, totally unbelievable. How they've turned something that is so toxic into such a deceptive lie to make you consume these things so that you think you're getting some benefit from it. Oh, eat the silica because it is going to deplete aluminum out of the body. Eat the silica because you're going to have longer hair, and better nails. What a load of horse hockey. It's all vanity that they're promoting here. I don't need to take silica to remove aluminum out of my body. Epsom salt will do the same thing, and I need magnesium and sulfur. Silica, you can't break down any form of it. You can't digest it. You don't have the acid to break it down. You can transfer silica into the cells by using sialic acid, phosphoric acid, or phosphorus, or even a saponin material. You know, even sunflower lecithin, which is a phosphorus, will transfer it into a cell. But you can't break it down. And once it gets into the cell, then what happens? It shuts down the capacity for your cells to talk. Let's give you an example how this works, shall we? Oh, I hear music. So when we come back, we're going to have an example about how silica can really screw you up. All right, talk to you in a bit. Hey, I think we're back. We're back in the saddle. Okay, let's talk about silica. Silica gets into the cells. All of a sudden, the communication network stops. Let's see how this could work on the body. Okay, let's say a cancer starts to form down at your ankle. And your body normally would have an activation to the DNA, which then would trigger an immune response saying, hey, we got a cancer going on down in the ankle. Send some of the guys down there, take care of it. So, anyway, that's what would normally happen. But instead, because the network is now not communicating with itself, because the silica has shut down the communication network with itself, the cancer now keeps on thriving, keeps on building, keeps on manifesting, keeps on going. Till all of a sudden one day you wake up and you've got a swollen something or another going on. You go to the doctor, he does the x-ray, says, oh my gosh, we got to take off your leg. You got cancer. Oh man, we've never seen it so bad. It's eating. Yeah, you ain't going to live another week if you keep this going. And then you freak out. Get the amputation, which could be avoided. All you would need is a little bit of a turpentine or DMSO and flush it out. Flush out the cancer. But this is what's been going on. And this has been going on for about 5.5 decades. Now, how is this working for everybody? Let's take a look. Those of us from the 50s generation, I always speak about those people because that's where I'm from, the 50s generation. We have been accumulating this crap for over 50 some odd years. Some of us are in their 60s are feeling the pains of aging. That's not the pain of aging. That's the pain of poisoning. See, every 7 years we're supposed to regenerate a whole brand new body, but it can't regenerate completely because it's inundated and saturated with 5.5 decades of poisoning. So until we start flushing out that poisoning and keeping it out, then the system can rebound. But they don't tell you, and then the foods they tell you should be using, like dairy products, for instance, fermented dairy straight from a cow or a sheep or a goat, straight, not this processed, what do you call it, pasteurized crap. Now, if you're getting yogurt that's been pasteurized, that is an exception, because after they cook it to death, they do load it back up with bacteria. Now, you can take milk that's been pasteurized and all that crap, you can heat it up, add the bacteria, and then culture that milk and bring it back to life to some level. Because once that bacteria breaks down all that sugar, now what you've got is protein and bacteria and nutrients, which now your body can absorb. But you have to ferment that dairy in order to get it. But these products, these unpasteurized milk, has transfer factor, colostrum, GCMAF in small minute amounts, and other proteins that fight and boost the immune system's capacity to fight and regenerate the DNA as well. But they say, oh, people are the only people in the world drinking milk. These are idiots. These are moronic idiots. Because when you look at everything that God has given us, I mean, he does mention the concept of milk and honey. You're going to a land of milk and honey. Why would he mention milk and honey? I mean, are we the only species on the planet that eat honey too, and other than the bees? You know, seriously? This is a true superfood. This is a true health food, which then they are also corrupted because they know the value that's in the milk that can help in restoring and regenerating the body, and how it can keep you from, again, rapidly aging, protecting your DNA. But do they tell you this? No. What did they tell you? Oh, it's no good. You shouldn't be drinking milk. No. Get the soy in you, and get the rice crap in you, too. Get that pea protein. Oh, yeah, you got to get the pea protein. And it ain't the soy, get the pea. Why are they telling you that? Because pea protein is no different than soy. It does the exact same damage. See, people get all caught up on some of the stupidest crap. Oh, I don't want to eat an animal product. What's wrong with drinking milk? You're not eating the meat, but the milk does have value. The yogurt has value. The kefir has value. The cottage cheese, the butter, that all has tremendous value. Butter gives you butyric acid, which without you cannot protect your colon from parasites. Holy jumping. You shouldn't eat butter because you might get, you'll keep the parasites away if you keep doing that. We got to be friendly to everybody. Oh, we got to be friendly to the parasites. We got to let them move in. Oh, we got to give them a home. Oh, we can't be anti-parasite. Oh, man. I'm probably going to hear that one day. Somebody's going to tell me this, and I'm going to think to myself, oh, what was I thinking? I'm telling you. God gave you a brain between those ears. Use it. Don't be entertained. These goofball gurus that come out here with their bullshit are doing nothing but entertaining you to get you to approach your bling gene, or this need to spend money on useless garbage. The food you should be eating, they're telling you not to. And the crap they're telling you to eat isn't fit for a pig. Oh, man, you should get your glyphosate-loaded grain. Oh, it's got glyphosate. It's organic, though. Oh, yeah, it's got the USDA. It's good for you. It's organic. Now, let me express to you how this works and how they get around that baloney. The farmer does what he's supposed to do. He buys the seeds. It's not supposed to be genetically altered. Okay, I'm not saying that he would do it. I'm just saying he goes out there to get the seed that's good. He prepares the land so the land doesn't have anything on it. So now when he plants the seed, he's getting the seed with non-GMO, supposed non-GMO material coming up from the ground. The moment the chemtrails hit that soil, it's done. No more non-GMO. It is now GMO. It has been genetically modified just from the chemtrails alone. There's no way around it. Then, if you are spraying any form of pesticide, which the organics guys have to spray something. If it's on a nano scale, it is no longer organic. None. And then when they harvest the food and they're spraying glyphosates on it at the harvest time, it is no longer organic. It's treated organic. It's a treated organic component. So when you hear this concept of organics, we don't have any, period. If you're buying flour, oh, it's from an organic blood, it's organic, look, organic flour. That's a lot of horse hockey. They were sprinkling silica dust in the silos with that flour. They mixed it in there. You now have a nano metal mixed in with your flour. Oh my gosh, there goes it's been genetically engineered now. So you say, well, what are we supposed to eat? Man, from what you're saying, everything's contaminated. Bingo. Bingo. Finally, the light has turned on. You have to learn to neutralize. If you don't learn the neutrality aspect of things, you are going to constantly reload and reload and reload. You're still doing it anyway, but if you know what you're doing, you can mitigate or minimize the reloading factor. I'm pointing this out to you because I want you to think. I don't want you to assume anything. So, Tony, is butyric acid in vinegar as well as butter? No. Acetic acid is in vinegar. So you have acetic acid in vinegar, you have butyric acid in butter, propionic acid in dairy, and you have lactic acid in also dairy, fermented dairy. Those are the acids that are required by the body. You need all four acids. If you don't have the acids, you can wind up with parasites. You can wind up with a whole host of health issues because your body isn't able to break down and convert some of the things that need conversion. So when we're looking at what is required, okay, and what is needed, that's how you have to start thinking in today's time. When you start modifying your diet, now for you targeted individuals, I went into this rant here because I'm trying to make a connection to you. For you to be targeted, there has to be some access point to you. And I've mentioned silica because silica is a superconductor. What's even more conductive than silica is carbon, which leads me to the next pile of rubbish. The carbon C60 fullerene crap. It's an antioxidant. Oh, it does all this blah, 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 blah. One study I saw showed this. 9, 10, 12 studies said it was poisonous to the genetic code. Then I thought about it. I said, okay, how is this working? So then I thought, well, maybe this is just a bogus study. More than likely it's what it is. But this is what happens when you eat a carbon fullerene. So you understand this. This is for you targeted individuals, so pay close attention. This is a material that is not a semiconductor. This is such horse hockey. I don't know who came up with this bullshit. Carbon fullerenes are superconductive to such a point they have absolutely no resistance whatsoever. You flash a light, you flash sound, you flash electrical, you flash magnetic. It's a full-on 100% transfer rate from fullerene to fullerene to fullerene. That's why they use it, because of the rate and speed you can move things through it, because it's so conductive. It's not a semiconductor. Number one, that would be a lie. Number two, they have loaded this stuff up now in a olive oil. That's why I think they're doing it. And there was some research on that too. The olive oil acts as a liposome, and then when you mix the two together, it carries the carbon 60 fullerene into the brain. Now, isn't that because your body can't break it down? Your stomach can't break it down, the colon can't break it down, so it goes into the liver. Now, everything from the liver goes directly to the brain. Well, it's bound in a fat. It's a liposome at this point. They might call it an emulsion, but it's the same. It's a liposome. Hits the liver, goes into the brain. Now, if that carbon fullerene has a program algorithm into it, guess what? It just downloaded it into your brain. You've just been hacked. It's a hack job. And it will transfer that data into your brain, overriding your brain. It may even be starting the assembling of the great tether that they want you to be tethered to. Consider what I'm telling you here. Anything you're seeing in the health food industry right now, even in PubMed, a lot of it is just pure crap. They're combining green tea with nano gold. They're combining turmeric with nano gold to target cancer. And it's killed about 99.9% of the cancer. It's not the green tea or the turmeric that's doing it. It's the nanoparticles. The nanoparticles are now killing everything. They forget to mention a slight little detail here. Yes, it did kill the cancer, but it also started killing the healthy cells around it as well. It started killing the healthy tissues around it as well. It started killing the blood cells around it as well. It started attaching itself to your genetic code and broke down the DNA as well. It attached itself to the double helix and broken strands of your DNA as well. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that. When you read these things, start reading toxicological effects of carbon fullerenes. Now you have to think in your own mind here for 1 second. A carbon fullerene is 3 times harder than diamond, 100 times harder than steel. How are you going to break that down? How? How can you do it? If you fire a high-powered laser beam at it, the best you can do is crack it. And your brain is an electrical conduit. It's constantly discharging all kinds of electrical impulses up there. This is the perfect superconductor. Wrapped like your cell. Now think about this now for 1 second. Think about this. Your cell is a membrane wrapped around with a lipid, which then has capacity to have information in it that can transfer to other cells. Guess what they just did? They created a cell-like component to transfer information to your cells. This is a hijack from hell. That's what this is. And you may start looking at this as what it is. This is a means of transferring information through a carbon fullerene. This thing can take up to 1 terabyte of data. That's 1 tiny nanoparticle. Imagine having a bottle full of this stuff and you're consuming it. Oh, I feel really good. Yeah, it's more than likely affecting the cannabinoid area of your brain. You can't have a drone with a sense of humor. You can't have a drone that can laugh or feel emotion. Oh, that gets in the way of programming. And if we have what Elon Musk says, we're going to have a tether in our head. Oh hell, we just started the construction here. Because once that tether is attached to your brain, guess what? You no longer are you. You are now part of the AI family. You'll probably be wearing a chip on your hand and forehead on top of that, so that the program can be complete. It can seal the program in you when that happens. You are no longer part of the Almighty at this point. You are part of a machine. Your DNA has been interfaced directly with a machine. You are no longer reflecting the image of God at this point. You're reflecting the image of a machine. And that's where this is going. There is not going to be any escape here, people. You know, either you are of the reflection of God or you're of the reflection of the machine. That's what's going to boil down to. What are you going to do? Choose what you're going to be, because that, and then walk in that walk. Those of you who are targeted individuals, this is what's been going on. They've been assembling a circuitry in you through all kinds of means, through the silica and other things. And for you, the way to get this going, you got to reduce the load. You got to strip this out, and it's going to be work. There is not going to be an overnight success here. You're not going to be one day, unless there's divine intervention, unless God himself takes a hold of you and sets you free from it personally in one day. Then it's the only way this is going to happen. Unless there's some magical or something that Brian 396 and I might have overmissed. So I'm pointing this out to you, so don't get discouraged. You're going to have to go through a detoxification on a daily basis, and you're going to have to go through a refortification on a daily basis. And then you're going to have to start thinking how to defend yourselves against being targeted with frequencies that can cause anomalous effects to hit your body. That's where we're at today. We're in the year 2018. The year 2018 is the year of the artificial, nanobio, transgenic, epigenetic, genetic takeover of mankind. That's where we're at today. It's been going on for quite some time, but never have I seen it this flagrant, this much, this powerful. And for those of you who are saying, well, man, what are we going to do? You are going to study to show yourself approved under God. Under God. Start studying. Start following. Start not believing, but acting. When you read something, don't just read it and park the book. Read it and build it. Understand what you're building. Gain the knowledge through experience, because once you gain the knowledge through experience, nobody can take it from you. Nobody can BS you. Nobody can cheat you. Nobody can weave you or lie to you. You are seeing it firsthand, what it's doing. And if you're seeing it firsthand of what you're building based on what you've read and what you're doing, then keep on going. Keep on going. You may be the one person out there that may actually come up with a solution to help all TIs across the board. Network with each other. All TIs need to form some kind of network or communication grid somewhere through either Skype or other things, and start coming up with solutions. Okay? You need to do this, because that's the only way we're going to happen. Okay, I'm getting near the bottom here. Holy cow. I'm going to talk real quick about Brian396.com. Brian and myself collaborated very intensely. We still do to this day. We're doing our research. We're bringing it together. He sends me stuff. I send him stuff. And this is how we've worked. And we've also went and got other people that we're also sending stuff to. It's gone global now. And he's now put together a site which is going to give you some pretty good information on how this whole thing works. He went into a whole different realm there to actually see how this thing actually does what it does. You know, he's looked for it. He's got it. Go check him out. Again, Brian 396, BRYAN 396.com. Okay, so go check him out, and then you can call him and talk to him. We'll do him some good. Well, it'll do everybody some good. He's extremely knowledgeable. There's nobody else other than myself and him that right now at this stage. There's others, I'm sure. I mean, others who are catching up, but at the stage where we're at right now, and what we've discovered and what we've been doing, he's a little ahead. You know, he's on that realm. I'm a little ahead in another realm. You know, and we just basically put it out there. Nobody's charging anything. Here it is. Bang. Here it is. Use it, use it, use it. Help yourself, you know. Don't surrender to the fact that you might be helpless, because you're not. Okay? He actually discovered this, talked to Gwen Scott before I did. I talked to her too before she passed. He tried to actually get the information to Carnicom. Carnicom would have nothing to do with it. Nothing. He called me up out of the blue. I said, well, let's take a look at it. He says, that's nano, bud. Never forgot that. I said, I don't know what it is. I don't think you do either, but let's take a look at it. And we went from there. You know, he had already done the homework. He had already done the legwork. You know, I was looking at agrobacterium while he was doing the nano. So, like I said, you know, we've had some pioneers. Or you had Gwen Scott. She was a pioneer. She was the one that actually discovered this crazy crap. And then Brian was the one that actually found that it was actually nano that was behind it all. I've been looking at the constructs of this nano and how it works and how to neutralize it. You know, how to get it out. He's been looking at how to get it out. So we've all been collaborating here, you know. So again, go check him out, Brian396.com. You know, also check out byebyebluesky.com. Go on her health link and look at the nano more gallons link. You can see the stuff coming out of people from all over. You can see the stuff coming out of the food supply. Somebody said, well, I don't want to look at that because if I look at that, I won't be able to eat it. You know how retarded that sounds? That's what some of you say to me on the phone. You know, you get on the phone, I don't want to know because if I know, I can't eat it then because I'll have nightmares and I'll just play, you know, my head's, oh no. Like I said, you know how retarded that sounds? You don't want to know that you're being poisoned to death so you can continue eating the poison. You know how ridiculous that sounds to me? I always tell people, well, you know what? When you're ready, when you're dying of cancer or some autoimmune disorder, give me a call back. If I have time, we'll talk. You know. Well, some of the things I hear, you have no idea. So anyway, check out Bye Bye Blue Sky. As I mentioned, Bye Bye Blue Sky and myself are going to be at the Toronto Convention Center this weekend. This weekend, it's here. Oh my gosh, it's here. So we're going to do our best to show you what we got to keep you informed. You know, and keep you informed and keep you ready and able, and to show what we can show you, you know, to keep it going, so that you can better protect yourself. And the more of you TIs that get together, and the more you start brainstorming, don't say anybody's stupid. If somebody sees something, listen to it. If somebody's hearing something, listen to it. As bizarre as some of the things are going to sound, again, pay attention. All right, I think we're done with the show here, right? I think there's another part coming. So I'm not sure. I think we had another part coming today. So if so, we'll continue on. If not, then we'll see you next week. Either way. Now we're on. Hey everybody, welcome to the to the Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pentelresco, and you're listening to us live, not really live, on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com and click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, solve some issues, cooperate, collaborate. You never know what you can come up with. I'm also published throughout the internet, byebyebluesky.com. Brian396 as well. We share and collaborate information as well. So if you're looking for any information pertaining to nanobiology, synthetic biology, chemtrails, or anything that's going on today in regard to epigenetics or transgenetics, those are the sites I would encourage you to go to. Brian396's site, Bye Bye Blue Sky, and my own. All right, I'm going to get right to it because we're running a little bit behind. We just got back from Toronto, and we had an event. We had a great event. We were swamped. I mean, we were swamped. We got hit with all kinds of things not all kinds of things. We got hit in regard to different things. With people coming up to us asking us all kinds of questions in regard to doing different things in regard to what we're doing. So we, it was a real heavy-duty event going on. It's like, as you can see, the phone's still ringing, non-stop. Even since I've been back, it's been crazy. We were so busy that when we were shutting down, we still had people lining up to come to our booth. Saturday, we were supposed to have been done at 8 o'clock. 10 o'clock, I was still going at it with people, talking to them about whatever. Suzanne Mara was there too. Lorraine George was there with her geodesic structures that she was portraying. We had a bunch of other activists there as well, supporting activists. So if you guys have a chance, go to byebyebluesky.com/bye-bye-blue-sky and Tony Pantelleresco at 2018 Toronto Green Living. Or which it would be easier if you go into byebyebluesky.com and click on the event link. You'll find that on the right side, I believe it's on the right side. Yeah, you'll see on the right side when you click on the event link, you'll see recent posts, Bye Bye Blue Sky and Tony Pantelleresco at 2018 Toronto Green Living Show. We had a great, it was a good all the way around show. People, we're bouncing back and forth. What we did, to really give you some idea what happened there, just give you the scope of what happened, we had a 500x monitoring scope, and what we did was we put an orange peel under there, and we put an apple, an organic apple. It was an orgasmically organic apple because it said it was orgasmically organic. Anyway, we looked at the apple through the scope of 500 magnification. People were going, well, they were speaking in Canadian tongues. They were saying OS or OF, depending on how fluent they were in the tongues. And then we took and put their hand underneath it. That was a lot of fun. I gotta tell you, people had their eyes were popping right out and said, "What the?" They had some language. One guy, he was from Jamaica, a really funny guy. He was a good guy, really good guy. And we were checking his hand, so we decided to look at his palm, and when we seen the fibers coming out of his hand. Like I said, this is a 500x magnification. If you look at your palm, you won't see it. You can get a 60x and go over your hand, and you will see it as well. And I encourage you to go get these 60x lens loops if you can't afford these 500x monitors or scopes, and take a walk on the wild side to see how infiltrated they have made you, have done to you with this technology. Anyway, when he looked at his hand, he went into sort of a shock. kept looking at his hand and says, "What is this doing on my hand? Why is this on my hand?" Just, 5 minutes, that's all you heard. "Why is this on my hand?" And then there were some moments like that made me laugh and chuckle, it just, but the event was an eye-opener. The event was an eye-opener for a lot of people. We had people there that we had some lunatics there too. One guy said he was a scientist. I told him, "Big deal, you're a scientist. I don't care." Told me he had all these degrees. I told him all the degrees that he had was only good to wipe his backside with. I told him I had certifications as well, and they're only good to wipe your backside with. Because all that does is basically tell everybody you learn how to jump hoops, speak the vernacular, and kiss butt. A specific way to get ahead. That's all that teaches you. So whenever anybody tells you that they got a degree in something, this is funny, because once you catch people on something that they can't explain, or that you got them, you nailed them hard, and they know you nailed them hard, then they go, "Oh, I'm an educated blah blah blah. I got certifications and degrees." All that said was you had a lot of money and a lot of debt. You went through the program, you jumped hoops, kissed backside, and now you are well equipped to follow the protocol or the program as they have created. That's all. They're not free thinkers anymore. They can't think anymore. The guy who was having a hard time being able to access the fact that they've got new jet engines that don't hardly put out any exhaust whatsoever. They're more like big blowers now. Once they get them up into the altitude, all they need to do is just have the air go through and just blow, and just keeps the plane up. And you can look this up yourself. The jet engines they're using today do not hardly burn any fuel whatsoever. They're that efficient. So what's coming out of the airplane, and another kid tried to explain, oh, the carbon and the hydrogen and the oxygen and the carbon, and I looked at him and said, Bud, are you stupid? You know, he looked at me. I said, it's minus 40 degrees up there, Bud. Carbon, when it comes out, would crystallize immediately. Then there was another guy there who's about my age, another ancient dinosaur. I said, this guy and me saw airplanes flying when carbon came out of an airplane, and it would dissipate almost instantly. You only had a slight little tail that came out of the jet engine. So there was hardly anything. It says, that is not condensation, because condensation would have crystallized and took off. Then I tried to explain to him, you mean to tell me when you go outside and you're breathing carbon out, that carbon is following you everywhere you walk? Oh, they just couldn't handle some of the stuff. They just, oh, they like, oh, you kind of thing, you know. So anyway, it was good. It really was good. It was a good event. We had, like I said, Lorraine, George. She was part of a geodesic home, dome greenhouses. And if anybody's ever interested in it, just go to domegreenhouses.com and request for Lorraine George, especially if we're in Canada. If you're looking for this, this was a really well-structured dome, triangulated. They put triangles inside this dome. I mean, it was solid. I mean, this thing would be almost earthquake-proof. That's how solid it was built. And it's a good idea to build a home. And she explains how this thing keeps itself warm and control. You know, I mean, it was all the way around incredible, just incredible. So anyway. Like I said, we had a lot of different things. Suzanne Marr was there also. She was again explaining about the chemtrails. She's well versed in the nano. So she was bouncing on all over the place as well. Both of us were passing people on to each other. She was passing them on to me for solutions. I was passing them on to her for different explanations. So nobody was getting overloaded. Well, not that much overloaded. We had to walk away to take a break. That's how loaded it was. It was phenomenal, really phenomenal. So, you know, the awakening is going on, and if I'm just to gather from that event, if that's any indication what was going on, I'm telling you, the awakening is going on far more than most of us realize. I had another fellow call me up today, a native fellow. He was telling me about we're talking about the native problems going on with the reservations, and how among the reservations they have turned them into war zones. They've loaded them up with drugs. They're experimenting with them on frequencies, vaccinations, and so forth. And he was explaining to me how it was very difficult for him to talk to people about all that's going on. Now this is for everybody, so that if you're listening to what I'm saying, you'll get it. Okay, you don't have to convert nobody. Okay, you don't have to convert nobody. Conversion will come when people hear the truth and act on it. Okay, you don't have to be the player to convert people. You know, all we did was tell the truth, explain what we saw, directed them to look for the information, and let them go. There was no need to try to create a conversion factor. And I'll tell you something, we have seen more people, I have seen more people contact me back through the email in regard to what's going on. They get shocked, they get afraid, they almost get to the point where they feel like they're immobile. But it's important that everybody hears it. You don't have to be the guy or the kingpin or the leader of the group or whatever. Just tell it the truth, and then point in the direction they need to go to look at it. Sometimes you're going to get people that are going to get all up in your face and agitated and whatnot because you broke the program. They're on a program. They're running on a program, and all they know is that program. So when you interject something different into the program, there's an immediate rejection of anything new. I mean, this is just part of the way we've been programmed. So all you got to say, look, you need to look for this for yourself. Says, I don't care what you do. You don't want to look at it, don't look at it. But it would be to your best interest that you do. You know, that's it. Let it go. They will look at it. And again, remember, more and more people that are becoming more and more aware are talking more and more too. This is gaining a lot of momentum. You have no idea. So contrary to what you see in the news, even in the alternative news, because you got to remember, the alternative news, some of that is controlled by the mainstream media as well. So some of them will, again, give you this doom and gloom. We're in a hopeless situation. You know, we are going to get smoked, blah, blah, blah. The end of the world's coming. Well, we all know the end of the world's coming. And we all know we need to get right with our Maker. We all know this. Everybody knows this. It doesn't matter what your faith is. Everyone knows we better, you know, have dotted our I's and crossed our T's before we meet our Maker. But in the interim, we're still here. We are still here, and it's up to us to help each other get through this. So, you know, that's my point. You know, get prepared, help each other, because when you help each other, then you become a force. You do. You become a major force. Now I'm going to talk about something. I got an email today from a TI. Made a valid point. So I'm going to answer the response through this show. TI wrote me, says, you know, when we're getting hit as hard as you're getting hit, sometimes there's nothing left to, you know, get together with somebody else. And I do understand that. I mean, we get hit. Everybody who's feeling depression and can't explain why they're feeling depressed, but they're feeling depressed for no reason, I'll tell you why you're feeling depressed. Because you are being hit with you've been targeted with a frequency. They have activated a frequency in your area, and they may have targeted your DNA to feel depression. So you go to a doctor and you get an antidepressant. You take the antidepressant, now you get hooked on a pill that may even have a tracking device or a nano delivery method, which can now be again incorporated into your DNA to restructure your DNA so they can manipulate your DNA through other frequencies. So this is the game. Some of you are saying this is like something out of a Twilight Zone or a sci-fi movie. It ain't sci-fi anymore. It's science reality. The technology is there. Just go look up the patents. Go look them up. They're all over. Look at your TV and CPU monitors targeting or sending out frequencies. There are all kinds of patents on this. Towers that can send out killer frequencies. There's patents on this as well. You can go look up frequencies that can modify or control genetics or DNA. There are patents on it. The military's been doing this since the 50s. Targeting individuals or groups or peoples or cultures or sections of cities. You know, even your children. You know, why do you think they have Wi-Fi in public school, in the elementary level? Why do you think they had those things there? Is it for the internet? Possibly. Or is it rather to see if they can experiment on your children in the educational system so they can hit them with frequencies and start programming them? Why do you think you might have a bully in a school system? Most kids don't want to get into any kind of trouble. In fact, most kids get together and they play and share their toys most of the time. But you notice today the kids are becoming more and more alienated and isolated. Why is it that when you send your kid to school and he comes back, he's a little bit or she is a little bit off? Do you ever think that the Wi-Fi in the educational system is sending frequencies to affect your children's brainwave patterns? Do you ever think that those Wi-Fis in the educational system might be affecting their genetic code, their DNA? How about their immune system? Let's target them with a certain amount of frequencies to see how many of them we can make sick today, so that the parents will take their children to a doctor so that they can vaccinate them and add more nanobiology into the genetics of the child. So now we can infect them with transgenetics and epigenetics. Wow. Ever think that is possible? Did you ever consider this might be done? Now look at the rest of the targeted individuals who are living elsewhere. I was listening to a program today on the YouTube. Somebody sent it to me. gang stalking and V2K testimony by private security whistleblower. And he gives basically, I mean, I've only got through it so far, but he basically was giving the information on who gets targeted. And I've been saying the same thing. I didn't go into the other aspects of it, you know, free-spirited and highly intellectual people, but it seems like anybody who's highly intellectual can cause a problem, can stir the boat, can tip the apple cart. Anybody's got a certain genetic code, anybody who happens to be a certain ethnicity or of a religious persuasion or belief system gets targeted. Now, getting back to those of you who are targeted, let me point this out to you. I get what you're saying when you're getting hit and you're being pummeled. I get it. But I'm going to tell you something else. If you don't network with each other, they're going to take you out one by one at a time, 10 at a time, and nobody's even going to know why you're missing, and nobody's even going to know what happened. And they won't even know how it happens or why it's happening. So it's imperative that you guys, everybody who's been involved as a targeted individual, to get together and to form a network and put down on some form, some way, somehow, what is going on with you, how you're dealing with it if you can at all, okay, and to talk about not only what you're feeling, what you're thinking, how you're reacting, how you're being neutralized. Because the problem is nobody knows what you're dealing with. I talk to people all the time, and I'm hearing all kinds of horrific reports. How one woman's being targeted, they're turning off her spine, they're shutting down her legs, they're activating a pain receptor, they're lowering her body temperature, they're affecting the way she thinks. She can't sleep, she's up all hours of the night, she gets 3 hours of sleep and she can't get tired. All these things are again a program that's going on. So you need to talk about these things. You need to express this some way, somehow. Excuse me. Through WordPress, MySpace, YouTube, BitChute, you know, whatever, however you can get it out there. Doesn't have to be done overnight either, but it would be to your best interest that all of you who have been targeted to start to assemble a blockchain, you know, a lobby. There's power in numbers. Remember that. Okay. Like I said, I'm not saying it's going to be easy either, and I don't expect it. And please don't think that I'm assuming this is going to be an easy chore for you. I know it isn't. I have my own struggles, so I know how difficult things can get. But I would also make a suggestion to you too. You might want to have a one-on-one with the Great One, and I'm referring to the Almighty, not me. And again, that's where you're going to get whatever strength you're going to get this done. And I'm not kidding. You are dealing with demonic forces of a proportion we've never seen before, not in our time frame anyway. And okay, well they don't. Well, okay, that's possible. Then the only other thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go to inconspicuous places. If your emails and stuff are being blocked, then you're going to have to go to inconspicuous places like libraries, university places. You know, go online and, you know, come up and create whole new different emails, and again, make contact, find forums. Go to this YouTube I just went. I'm talking about gang stalking, versus and V2K testimony by private security whistleblower. You might meet people in those groups there that are listening to this kind of thing to see what's going on. And you might want to put it out there for everybody to connect. Find some forum, some place that you can all connect to. where you can put down what needs to be put down. Because like I said, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody has any idea how you're being hit with a frequency and how things are going into your head and how things are trying to control your body, or how things are turning off your body's immune system or hyper accelerating your immune system. They don't know the shocks that you're feeling or the stimulation of these frequencies and what they're doing to your DNA. They have no clue. You have no clue that your spine is being turned off and you can't sleep, and then while you're sleeping they're accelerating these frequencies at such a high level that's literally cooking you inside out. They don't know this. They have no clue. And some people are going to say you're nuts. Stand your ground. You don't have to convince those people. Those people who are going to call you nuts will be the next wave of targets to be exploited and experimented on. Because like I said, if you don't know the devil's around, then the devil has a heyday with you, because hey, you won't even see it coming. And by the time you do, it's too late. Put it out there for the people who are like yourselves, been targeted, who have been attacked, so that you guys can collaborate, and come up with solutions. Only way. Only way. So there's a lot of channels out there for you to listen to. Like I said, I just sent you the one here. This guy goes into some pretty elaborate detail about the actual frequencies and what's going on. And let me remind some of you who have belief systems, some who are of the Catholic faith, Protestant faith, the born again faith, the Islamic faith, the Judaic faith, the Hindu faith, the Buddhist faith. It doesn't matter. They will hit you. Somebody say, well, God will protect me. God allowed Job to get pounded on by the devil. Kept him alive, but he allowed him to be hit. So Paul was afflicted. For those of you who are of the New Testament mindset, Paul was afflicted. Even Jesus, who came down here as our Savior, got the piss pounded out of him, hung on a tree. Now this is God in the flesh. He could have stopped us at any time. My point is, just because you're a believer doesn't mean you won't get afflicted or get targeted or you won't get hit. That's an assumption you cannot afford. Don't for 1 minute think that you cannot get hit with this. God will protect you. And God can maybe stop some of this from happening to you. He may stop all of it from happening to you. I'm not saying that He can't or you won't. Nobody knows the mind of God. But from what I understand historically, just looking at the book of Martyrs' Mirrors, the early believers felt some abuse. A lot of them died for their faith. So I'm pointing this out to you that I don't care what you believe. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what your gender is, if you're a man or a woman. Don't care. Don't care if you're a child or you're an adult. Don't care. Don't care if you're wide or narrow, or tall or small. Don't care. You can be subjected to this kind of abuse. And everybody needs to be aware of this. Everybody needs to see what's going on and understand this. And everybody needs to, like I said, be prepared to come up with a solution. We are in a war. I've said this many a time. We are in a war, and it's a beauty of a war. The stuff they're using, and the interesting thing is, it's the very governments that we have supported for the last 100 years or 200 years that is doing this to us through them. So again, for those of you who have been targeted, I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think the reason why you've been selected is so that you can speak on these things, get them out there, and so that you can work together and form a solution, because nobody's going to know what really is going to work except people that go through it. I did not know what was going to work against nanobiology or synthetic biology till I went through it. In fact, if I hadn't gone through it, I wouldn't have believed it either. But after going through this and seeing for myself what I am dealing with nanobiology and synthetic biology, I have now been able to develop solutions for myself and others that seem to be working to help, at least if it doesn't fix it completely, to at least alleviate a great deal of it. Don't give up. Hold your ground. Okay, hold your ground. I can't emphasize that enough. And for the rest of you who haven't been having any experiences yet, you better pay attention. Your time may be next. And you may want to start studying about this biotechnological warfare that they're throwing on the planet. It's not just the United States or Canada either. I got news for you. For those of you who are outside North America, guess what? It's going on in your country as well. Australia, New Zealand, as far south as that goes, Asia, India, which is part of Asia, the Baltic region, the countries like the Ukraine, Romania, Yugoslavia, you know, places like that, Africa, you know. Don't think for 1 minute this is just a localized attack. This is global. Global, global, global. I know it's global because I get calls from every part of the globe. And I have gotten calls from Africa. I have gotten calls from India. I've gotten calls from Australia and New Zealand. I have gotten calls from Asia. I have gotten calls from across Europe, across the United States, Caribbean, South America, Canada. So it's not like it's local. Unless you want to call the planet local. Then the whole planet is a localized phenomenon. Pointing this out to you because we need to be aware of this. You know, this is no longer just some, you know, walk in the park thing here. You know, it's not. He wasn't the first. This is not the first walk in the park. So, like I said, understand what is going on. Understand what's going on. We are no longer living in the Disney World unless you're still asleep. And the wake-up call that you'll get will be one big major bomb, literally. So, again, I wanted to point that out as well. Like I said, there's been a lot of things. Just in 3 days, I cannot even get my head around how much has gone on in just 3 days between the convention and being back, you know. Just when I was waiting to catch my bus to come back, I couldn't believe what I was seeing at the bus station. What appeared to be demonically possessed people and the actions of some of these people. And I recognized that either they were demonically possessed or they were really being modulated very heavily by frequencies. And this has been going on for quite some time, right underneath our noses, but we've never really paid attention to it. We thought, oh, these people are crazy, and these people are strange, and these people are bizarre. But these people may actually be being utilized in this experiment to create chaos in any environment. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing at the bus stop the couple hours I was there. Strange and bizarre things. I thought, oh, isn't this interesting? Oh, I kept thinking to myself, isn't this interesting? You know, years ago I said, these people are crazy. Now I look at them and think, isn't this interesting? Isn't this interesting? Because now I can recognize that they're being affected by frequencies, that they're being affected by some external force that's controlling these people. They have no idea. Especially people who have been on drug abuse and are down and out in the street. These drugs are loaded with this technology so that they are very easily targeted to be chaotic. How many times have we seen somebody, you know, just go and kill a bunch of people? They went postal and they shot the post office or a school. Why did that happen? Was it because of a drug? Or was it because they were turned on by a frequency? Nobody's thinking in those terms. Oh, the guy took some crazy drugs, and the crazy drugs affected his mind. He thought he was asleep when he was really awake, and he thought he was dreaming. Was he dreaming? My point, was he dreaming? Was she dreaming? Or was that running through their brain, and this is what they thought they saw because it was being pumped through their ocular part of their brain. This is what they saw because this was being piped through their brain. They thought they were in a game. They thought they were doing this. They thought they were doing that. And then when you ask them, they don't remember anything because Possibly the program was wiped from their brain after they used them. Ever think that was a possibility? Scary stuff. Alrighty, come on back. We'll see you in a bit. Hey, I think we're back. Alrighty. I want to point something out as well. When we're looking at what's going on today, the more people collaborate together, the more solutions you're going to come up with. I'm not kidding, and you'll come up with really good ones. This is the big kahuna here on this. See, nobody knows what you're all capable of doing. Nobody knows. As long as they can keep you running in a program way of thinking, you're pretty well going to follow the program. So you can, then you're pretty predictable. You know, predictability is there then, because again, you're just going to follow the status quo. But the more of you that collaborate and look at different research and explore those venues of research that are not normal, say creating EMPs or creating shielding or creating grounding or creating vortexes or creating, you know, things that can restart or reboot the genetic code. A lot of you think, well, geez, Tone, I'm not educated like you. I'm not smart like you. I'm not whatever the vernacular of the day is. I don't know. I'm just a nobody. I'm just a small guy. Let me point something out to you. David was a small guy too, and he took out a super soldier. And what did he use? He used what he had. He used the sling, and he took that bastard out, and then he took his own technology and cut off his bloody head and hung it up for the world to see that with God all things are possible. Okay? But what was he? He was a shepherd. What did he know about fighting super soldiers or AI or nanobiology or nanotechnology? Not a bloody thing. But he stood up to the plate and took that bastard out. And I'm telling you the same thing. You guys have the same capacity to take this bastard out, this AI, this nano, these frequencies. You just got to have a little faith in yourselves and each other. It wouldn't help, like I said, to have a one-on-one with the Great One in this matter as well. My thinking anyhow. Without the divine, you ain't got nothing. I always say if God's not the center of the equation, you have no equation. And I stand by that. I don't care if you're a scientist, I don't care if you're a university professor, I don't give a what you are. If God is not the center of your equation, you got nothing. And look, if God can use a jackass to stop a prophet from doing something stupid, he can sure as heck use any one of us. And now, what I'm saying is, if the more of you get together and get over what you can't do, I don't care what you can't do. I'm more concerned with what you can do if you apply yourself. You can learn things and you can do things. Look, my YouTube channel was there so that you could learn how to do these things for yourself. And anybody can do these things. Anybody can do these things. Okay, and it was done in a way where anybody could learn. All you got to do is try. Now, you women contact me all the time. And you say to me, you're a girl. and that, you know, you're just a girly kind of girl. My response to you is, what does being a girl have to do with you using your brain? I always say God gave us 2 hands, 2 feet, and a heartbeat. Well, get with it. Okay? Anybody can do this. Okay? It may take you a little longer. Maybe you're not as educated. Maybe you didn't have the opportunity to, you know, be completely programmed by the system. And because you weren't completely programmed by the system, you feel a little inferior because you didn't, you know, you weren't as smart as somebody. You know what? Not everybody has got the same kind of talent or gift. Use what you've got. Don't think in terms that your gifts are insignificant. Everybody has the capacity to contribute. Everybody. Even a child has that capacity. They have an imagination. They have the capacity to think a little differently. And it's only when they get programmed that this stops. So I'm trying to point this out to you that if you can learn how to ride a bike, if you learn how to walk on 2 feet, if you learn how to dress yourself, if you've learned how to tie your shoes, which is pretty difficult for some people in this day, if you learn how to read, write, and arithmetic, if you can understand and comprehend what you're reading and writing and figuring out, then the sky is the limit. Sky's the limit. Okay? Don't compare yourself to me. Don't compare yourself to Brian 396. We're just anomalies. That's what we are, nothing more. But the thing is, so are you. Anybody who is alive, has a belief in God, has got a brain in their head, knows right from wrong, in today's time is an anomaly. You're not a programmed bot. You're not a programmed automaton following the program. And this is all, again, part of healing. Understanding what you're capable of. Look, if we're made in God's image after God's own likeness, that means that we have the godlike capacity to do things beyond belief, beyond phenomenal. And didn't Christ say, if you could say to this mountain, get out, got faith of a mustard seed, you tell it to get out and go into the ocean, that it would be moved? That's all it takes. Just the capacity to be willing to try. That's all it takes, honest to God. You know, and I'm putting this out there because that's really what it boils down to. Put your faith out. Take a step. What do you got to lose? If you stay where you are and don't do nothing, you're going to get smoked. You're going to get taken out, and nobody's even going to know you even were around. And even the people that you're around now will have forgotten who you are. And don't worry about what anybody says. Opinions are like backsides. Everybody's got one. Forget it. You hear most people don't have a clue. They sound like they know what they're talking about. And they sound like they have some kind of qualification, but when you scratch the surface and get right down to it, majority don't have enough foundation to stand on their own 2 feet. They're hoping nobody can discover that they're just empty. So that's my point. Like I said, I'm trying to get you to think in those terms. You can do this. Okay, Brian 396 and myself collaborated on this stuff. He was the one that actually discovered the whole nano business and how they were screwing us. Gwen Scott was the one that actually understood the whole concept of something strange and bizarre going on and the assault that was beginning. He actually pinpointed to what it was. Okay, he got me on board. He calls me up and says, "Hey, Tone, this is nano." Okay, I don't know what it is. So I went with it. Because I knew everything that I seen so up to that point wasn't doing anything to it. We're living in a nanobiological or nanotechnobiological or synthetic biological warfare going on mankind. I wanted to take a step away from that for a second. I just got an email, and it was interesting. They responded at the end by saying a fellow creation from Adam and Eve. And I like that. I like that. I like the fact that we're tying us together through Adam and Eve. And I wrote back, in regard saying that same thing. I stopped it from another fellow person from the race of mankind. And I think we need to address that with each other and reinforce that fact that we are of mankind. We were made in God's image after his own likeness. He said, let us make man in our image. We are part of the race of mankind. We are connected. If we're connected to God in any way, shape, or form, that's the race we are a part of. Okay, and that's how we should address each other, I think. I think that would reinforce and keep us in a state and give us some kind of connection with each other. Not that we're just following this bunk. Oh, you're human. Or people kind. We're all people kind. And we're not people kind. People are not kind. Most people are pains in the backside. So I wanted to share that a little bit with you too, because I get a lot of people with different perspectives contacting me all the time, and it's really neat that I'm in the position I'm in to be able to have access to that, where people can tell me and share stuff with me and converse with me in ways, from wherever walk of life they come from, and I've been honored actually to have that, that access, to be quite frankly. So and again, the more people I have come across who have seen what's going on, I tell you what, they get fired up. And they start looking at things, and they start looking at things a whole different way. They don't, they're no longer just going along to get along. And I'm going to tell you something about that too. That's only going to work for only so far. Going along to get along. Because what's going to happen, sooner or later, the experiment is going to be turned on you. Don't think because you got money or because you got this. You could be a well-off, well-to-do person. You could be in a position of a high middle income or a very high middle income. And in a moment, and in a twinkling of an eye, you could be dead, busted, broke. That's how fast they can manipulate these frequencies and turn you off and then target you. Again, let me remind those of you who are hearing the voice of God. This is a voice-to-head technology. Now, if it is the voice of God you are hearing, you better be seeing a burning bush. You better have something substantial, really substantial, before you act on that voice. Because it may be a voice isolating you from what's familiar and what's safe and putting you in the middle of nowhere where you can be very easily targeted, exploited, and experimented on. Imagine being told to go X, Y, Z, and you're going into a place where it's run by a bunch of Masonics or Jesuits or Zionist people, that the whole community is part of that. And you're being directed into the lion's den with no defense, no support, nothing. You may want to reconsider what you're hearing. That sounds like a sabotage or, again, takeout. Again, not saying that may not be the voice of God, but there better be something substantial to validate that. That's what I'm saying, so you don't get sucked into the voice-to-head technology. Because again, it's happened. I've had people email me saying they heard the voice of God and went in the middle of nowhere and kaboom. Things happen. And again, and that things can happen too. I mean, the moment you step away from following the program has a way of wanting to get you back. But I mean, I'm pointing this out so you're not putting yourself in a state of vulnerability and isolation, and separate yourself so that you get taken out. Sometimes God may have you go somewhere in the middle of nowhere, but then again, He's got a support mechanism there waiting for you to protect you as well. And again, if you don't have that and you're being assaulted, then you may not have heard His voice, is all I'm trying to point out. I'm no authority on that one. I'm just giving you what I see as a perspective and how these things work and what could possibly happen, seeing what I have seen in my own personal life and how I've been attacked and targeted. And anybody who is an activist today, who's out there pitching the pitch and hitting the ball out of the park. And I'm talking about real activists who are telling you the real truth and trying to give you the real information. They are being hit in ways you can't imagine, on all fronts. So those of you who are out there doing what you're trying to do the best you can, don't be surprised at the attacks that are going on. In fact, if you are being attacked, that means you are doing something right. You are moving in the right direction. Just make sure you don't isolate yourself. Connect with other activists if you can. Work things out. Try to come up with solutions. Come up with better ways, better formats to present the truth. And share what you can. Help anybody you can. Again, I'm pointing this out because, like I said, we had a phenomenal weekend. We really did. The one thing everybody noticed with all of us in the booth there, how everybody was collaborating with each other, working together, doing the best we could to help each other, help everyone understand what was going on. We had there's a Three Hearts Church on YouTube. She did another one, another tube on us too. I'm mentioning her, Pastor Cheryl. She's a funny one, that one. I like her. She's a pistol, boy, I'll tell you. She really is a pistol. I got to tell you, she's got more testicular fortitude than some people I've met. If she was a man, she'd have one heck of a set of sacks to the way she talks. But she is on the ball, I'm telling you. In regard to getting on top of this and trying to get her congregation to protect themselves and to be aware of how this demonic attack is happening. So and again, if you have a chance, go check out her tube. She's always talking about, she's always mentioning Jesus all the time. Those of you who are of that mindset, and even if those of you aren't, you might want to go hear what she's got to say and the research she's done on this as well. She's pulling some from Bye Bye Blue Sky and myself on this, and so again, you may want to hear what she's got to say. But she's right there on the button, boy, I'll tell you. And this is what I'm seeing: more and more people are seeing what's being presented and are now looking at the stuff. Years ago, nobody was looking at what we were doing. Hardly anybody. It was like hit and miss. Now it seems like everybody just turned on the channel and they're dialing right into the research. Even Brian 396 now has scaled up his presentations, and he's putting a lot more information out there as well. So you're getting it from a lot of different venues here. So there is no excuse or whatever explanation you want to talk yourself away from. Look at his research. Look at Susan Marr's research and Bye Bye Blue Sky. Look at my research. Check things out. Understand what you're reading. You have no idea what we're up against, and I still can tell you the prep, but in your preparations, I would start telling you in your preparing to learn how to defend yourself against frequencies and what you need to do and to do this, because this is where part of preparation is going to come in. Your gun or bullets are not going to stop a microwave. Your guns and bullets are not going to stop an EMP. Your guns and bullets are not going to stop a frequency that's going to come in and try to activate your DNA. You're getting what I'm saying? You are inadequately prepared if you think your gun, your 50 caliber, your 30 caliber, whatever it is you have, is going to stop that. Not going to happen. And this is all going to be part of the preparation that we're talking about. So again, I would encourage you to do the research. Especially when you look at some of the organics out there today. We had like I said, we had an organic, and they were loaded with fibers. Loaded with fibers, literally. People's skin, the palm of their hands, were loaded with fibers. Like I said, they were in shock. They were in shock. All right. I think before we go on, let me express and remind you that the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network takes donations. You might want to help them out. Keep them going, keep them flowing, so that you can keep getting shows like this to help you get prepared and to keep you floating. Keep you going. So keep them floating so they can keep you floating. Okay, you got Bye Bye Blue Sky and myself. We collaborate, Brian396, GAG Canada. These are some of the places you can come into Canada. You can go to my site. There is a catalog link there. Check it out. There are things there that may help you. Go to Bye Bye Blue Sky. She's got the billboard campaign. Check her out. Help her in any way you can. GAG Canada's got a campaign going on as well. I'm not sure if Brian does yet, but I'm sure Brian will take donations if you're willing to send it to him. Help them out any way you can. Help out the people that are doing something. They're really trying to make a difference. That would be my encouragement to you. You know, and if you're going to go see Pastor Sherry there at the Three Hearts Church, you know, why not throw a donation that way too if you can afford it? I mean, these are people that are trying to tell it the way it is, how it is, and what it is. So give them a hand any way you can. You know, and again, if you need a consultation with me, I'm available. You can get me through the email independz@yahoo.com, independz@yahoo.com, or you can contact me at 519-977-5351. Alrighty, I hope this show would have inspired you. We were inspired by the Green Show. We inspired a lot of people while we were there as well. Yeah, Brian396.com. Go check him out. He's got a lot of information on his site too. Some of it is going to be pretty deep as well and pretty intense. Go with it. Go with the flow. That's the way he is. That's how he is too. He's pretty intense. He knows what's going on. He has firsthand felt the wrath of this himself. You know, so have I. So is Susan Meyer. So have a lot of other activists that are out there. And you know what? We're all fighting it, and we're showing you how to fight it as well. Okay, so that you get the gist of what's going on. You know. Alrighty. Well, I guess today's Tuesday. So we'll see you Thursday. Till then, again, you know, get it together. Come up with some ideas. You know, compliment each other. Talk to you in a bit. Take care. Hey everybody, welcome to The Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com, then click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, solve some issues, compliment, cooperate, and come up with some great ideas. I'm also published on all over the place, buyebuyebluesky.com, GAG Canada and other places. And if you probably see me, if you see an activist, you probably see me in the name there somewhere along the ways. Yeah, thanks. Cool. I want to talk about, I want to get you to think. Today I want to get you to think. I want to get you to think in terms of perspectives here. I'm going to talk about nano. I always talk about nano because I want to make sure that you are stayed very current with the nature of nanotechnology, nanobiology, synthetic biology, because I think today the DNA is the most assaulted part of us. And if the DNA isn't being protected in any way, shape, or form, then the compromise and the level of compromise that we are being, you know, are going to be accustomed to is going to make a huge change in regard to how we deal with health. Because today's health and dealing with health today is a totally different paradigm. We are no longer looking at just taking a simple vitamin or eating the right food, which is really difficult to do, because of the nature of the pollution in our food supply through nano and synthetic biology, genetics, epigenetics, transgenetics, and chemtrails. I mean, we can't forget chemtrails. God help us. Now, everybody always gets asked this question, and today I found the answer, but I'm not going to just give it to you. I always give it to you, but I think this is one time I want everybody to research the answer here. Hey, dear chick, how you doing? I was watching a program on the YouTube, And I'm not anti-Semitic by any stretch of the imagination, nor am I anti-Israel, nor am I anti-Middle East, nor am I anti-anything, to be honest with you. But I am anti-BS. I really am anti-BS. I have my BS button has broke a long time ago, and one of the things I can't really handle these days is BS. That meter broke. But I was looking at this program, and they were indicating very strongly who's actually controlling the planet and how much wealth of the planet is controlled by a certain small minority on the planet. And then it got me to thinking. We come up with research, and we're giving you research on how toxic things are. But you ever notice that no matter how toxic something is, it's always allowed to continue? It's almost as if there's some sort of biological warfare going on, or a genetic warfare going on, or a warfare going on. It just made me think a little bit. Then it dawned on me that, we know things cause cancer. We know this. We know things cause cancer, and we know things shouldn't be allowed in the environment because they can further propagate any kind of autoimmune disorders, genetic damage, genotoxicity, and so on, and could lead to other autoimmune disorders and malfunctioning of our DNA. And I thought to myself, okay, now why would that be allowed to continue? There is no gain here. None. There's really absolutely no gain. I mean, you may say, well, the drug companies make money. They really don't make money. They make money when you don't buy the drugs or use the drugs, as a whole. Because if you have to use an insurance company to buy the drugs, they lose money. Now, if you have to pay out of pocket, obviously they make money. But if you have an insurance company and the insurance people are paying into your plan, they make money just from the fact that you are not using the plan. Just like insurance. You got car insurance, and you never use the car insurance, and one day you get into an accident, and then they raise all kinds of hell with you. Oh my gosh, it's going to cost us $20,000 to repair your car. We're going to have to raise your rates. Wait a minute here. I've been paying for 20 years into this system. I have more than paid for this damage. But that's not how it works, does it? So then I thought more and more. I further looked into some more investigation on this, and I thought, well, what do you know? And then we looked at the media. I looked at the media big time. How the media is also owned by a small minority of people on the planet. Now, isn't that interesting? Same minority, by the way. And then I thought, what is going on here? And then I started hearing some of the quotes by some of the elder statesmen in this minority. And then some of the things started to make sense. Canada, for instance, the Europeans have built Canada, the Europeans have built the United States. Those of you who have a European background, it was your ancestors that came to this country by force because the globalists of the day destroyed Europe, forcing Europeans to come to North America to establish and to build North America. And if you're of that descendancy, you are now a dying breed because you are being targeted as a quote-unquote color or a quote-unquote species of race. And the Europeans are being discriminated against as far as entry across the Atlantic. If you are of another genre, they're allowing you in. But if you're of the European background, there's high levels of discrimination. Now, everyone's asking, what's this got to do with health? Everything. Because your perspective of what's going on around you is going to determine what you need to do to be healthy. And if you don't know the nature of the assault that's going on today against your DNA, against your genetic code, against you personally because you have a specific descendancy coming from Europe, then you wouldn't even know you're being targeted. And we are dealing with targeted individuals across the planet. And a lot of them happen to be European. A lot of them are also other ethnicities as well. So I'm not trying to disregard other cultures or races who are also being targeted as part of this experiment. And I want you to really investigate this concept. Like, why would we allow a technology to be exposed in our environment, in our consumable products, in our genetic code that's never been tested. Never been tested. And then to have a bunch of goofballs come into the health food industry to further propagate a product based on nanobiology, being propagated with a lot of horse hockey research as a wonderful antioxidant and a longevity factor and blah, blah, blah. How many times have I heard this before about soy and canola and aspartame and omega-3s and even molasses and a whole variety of other products, isoflavones. How many times have I heard in this industry things being propagated as longevity, anti-aging, propagating life, and anti-cancer, and a whole variety of other nonsense. And it turns out to be that these things were introduced into the health food industry on purpose to give people a false sense of security, so that when they consume these products, in their mind they're thinking they're doing themselves a good thing, but in reality they were actually deactivating their DNA. It's funny how these things happen. And it's funny how they're allowed to happen. Where's the FDA here? Where's the Health Protection Branch in Canada? Where's the Ministry of Health in Canada and in Europe? Where's the European Food and Safety Authority in Europe? Where's the Chinese FDA? Where are these institutions that are supposed to be protecting you from this kind of happenstance? Where are they? Could they be also part of this minority? It seems to appear so. So when you ask the questions to me in regard to chemtrails and genetics and epigenetics and towers and frequencies and DNA splitting and 5G assault, and you ask me, isn't this going to affect them? Them are the ones you should talk to. Them are the ones you should research. Them are the ones you should investigate. Not the activist who's warning you about what is going on. Them are the ones you should be dealing with. Now, unfortunately, some of you are going to find this very difficult to swallow. Just like anything else in this life, when you see the truth about things, it makes you question a lot of things you believe, a lot of things you think, a lot of things you have been taught. But let me get to a document here. I mean, I wanted to start off this show in a way where it's a bit controversial, but then what else is new about me? It is somewhat alarming. I shouldn't say somewhat alarming. It's highly alarming. It's been a prevalent thing going on for the last 60 years. The First and Second World War were started by the same minority. Interesting enough. Now I've been telling you for a long time about nanotechnology being nanobiology, synthetic biology, being extremely dangerous to us, and how it is now being propagated into everything. Everything's having it. And we have, like I said, marketeers now hiding the fact that they're using nanotechnology to make their products. So somebody sent me a product the other day. They were checking that they were using a smoke a smoke kind of technology to make this nano silver. If you are seeing silver on the market today in any way, shape, or form, avoid it like the plague. This is DNA destructo number 1, especially for the male population. If you treasure your sac, if you treasure your seed, if you treasure the health of your genitals, You will not use nano silver. You will not use titanium, because they're also nano, and you will not use cadmium. Any of these products and currently being sold today in the market is lethal as hell. And they are allowing this to be propagated because there is absolutely no studies or reference point or enforcement being done on these products, because they are there to make money, nothing more. So when we're looking at some of the wonderful things going on today, you might want to look at who might be running the show. Okay, who might be running the show? Let me read this. Nanoparticles can damage DNA and increase cancer risk. It's not the only thing it can do. Nanoparticles can damage DNA. When they damage DNA, we're talking a variety of cascading effects that can affect the whole biology from pillar to post. Okay, let me read some of the highlights here, okay, about nano. It's 1 billionth of a meter in size, could damage DNA and lead to cancer, according to research presented in 2007. Yet they are large enough to cause trouble by interfering with the normal cell process. Little regulation on their manufacture and use and disposal. There's hardly any. You can make pretty well whatever claim you want today, and it's perfectly okay. So then they talked about the genotoxicity of silica and C60 fullerene nanoparticles. Now, this is what I'm saying. We've got a couple of goofballs out there trying to sell you C60 fullerene. Wow. And when you read the research on C60 fullerene, which some of you or a lot of you don't read, don't investigate, you'll see one research documentation, only one, indicating that it has any health benefit, and the rest you see is all leads to autoimmune disorders, complete genetic damage. So you have to ask yourself this question. If C60 fullerenes have the capacity to cause genetic damage by getting inserted into your body in places and then incapable of being broken down whatsoever, how can they benefit you? How is there any benefit? So somebody is throwing a monkey wrench in the research, which is not uncommon. Not uncommon. In fact, I was looking at another document today where they're saying that the animal studies that they used in the past were flawed. You know how they say, well, you know, based on this study and based on that study, well, these were based on animal studies. And what they found out in those animal studies, that a lot of the studies that they were accessing back in the day left some details out about how some of them had a high level of toxicity as a side effect that could cause wonderful issues like silica. Silica causes genetic damage, cellular miscommunication, autoimmune breakdown, skeletal breakdown. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the real cause of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease is a form of silicosis that gets into the brain, because the silica would bypass the blood-brain barrier, and the proteins are reacting because the DNA disruption that this is causing in the brain is creating these anomalies. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. I mean, after all, we've been consuming this crap for over 50 plus years, 55 plus years. So obviously there's going to be an accumulation level. It doesn't come out that easy, if it comes out at all. It embeds and then assembles. Wow. They allowed that, and they stopped the studies on it back in 1960 because they found that the genetics damage that this stuff was doing was off the chart. And they were feeding it to chickens and cows and goats. And then they came out in the health industry and said this is a great detoxifier. It will remove aluminum out of the body. It won't be absorbed by the colon. They were correct in when they said it won't be absorbed by the colon. they were very correct in that statement. Where they contorted that statement was, no, you're not going to absorb it. It's going to penetrate through your colon. A slight fact they forgot to mention. So a lot of these colon issues that have occurred would have been occurring as a result of the combination of the grains you were consuming, because the grains you were consuming had the silica embedded in it. Every grain out there has it. Even that quinoa and buckwheat and millet and all that other crap has it. If they don't put it in the field, they're putting it in the silo where they store it. So we are dealing with genetic anomalies today as a result of a poor oversight of an organization that was actually supposed to protect the general population. So my point is this: since everyone is being controlled by this minority on the planet, you might want to start looking at your own research and start exploring and experimenting for yourself. You don't have any credibility with these things anymore. I used to say years ago that if you had studies from 1980 back, 1970, 1960, 1950, 1940, 1930, 1920, the further back you went, chances are the more pure the studies were. Less invasive, less compromise, less adulteration, because initially they were looking for an answer. They had health issues. They wanted to be able to fix it. So the point I'm trying to make here is, don't trust anything you hear in the health food industry whatsoever. Nothing. You may find the odd person who's legitimately trying to help you, who is also misinformed and giving out misinformation based on the misinforming. You are going to have to seriously take the bull by the horn, literally, and do your own research, and then trial and error. Conduct your own experiment. I collaborate with a colleague and friend of mine down in the East Coast of the United States. He's a younger guy, very brilliant, very talented. And we got into exploring and expanding our awareness on some of the things that we've been told were toxic. So we decided to challenge the toxicity factor, and found out that the toxicity factors for a lot of things they told us was erroneous. It was a misrepresentation of the truth. And then you begin to wonder, why would they do this? Why would they not tell us the truth about these things? Because the bottom line fact is, if you use these things accordingly and properly, you would be able to find a solution to your health issue and maybe fix it or cure it. Can't say the word cure. You can't say the word heal. Why not? It's in the dictionary. The words are. Go look them up. Go get any dictionary, even an internet dictionary, and type in the word heal. Type in the word cure. Type in the word repairing the health. And you will find that these words are still in the dictionary. Wow. And yet you can't say those words. Now the question comes to mind again. Who's controlling this? Why are they controlling it that way? Are we at war and don't know it? See, the Bible tells you that there's no discharge from war. And I used to read that. I've read that thing for decades, And I never could understand the complete physical aspects of that. I understood the spiritual warfare, the New Testament talks about spiritual warfare. We wrestle not against powers and principalities. But we're no discharge from war. Then I thought about this, as maybe it's been trying to tell us that there's been a war going on against us, and we haven't been aware of it. And it sure seems like it because our food supply is completely corrupted. The air above us is completely corrupted. The water table is becoming totally corrupted with the plastics and industrial waste. So then you got to think in your mind, who would allow such a thing to destroy a planet this way? It's called planeticide. Who would be out there to try to restrict access to resources that all of us are entitled to? Another friend and colleague of mine said the other day that if in the United States alone there's enough land and space to give everybody a mile, 1 mile of acreage that could be yours. 330 million people could each have 1 mile acreage. Can you believe that? If you had that, imagine the prosperity you could have. A land flowing with milk and honey. Oh yeah, I forgot, the vegans get all worked up about you drinking a little milk and having a little honey. They're animal products. But hey, God said it was okay, but the vegans, they don't know. See, this is it. The vegans have bought into the bunk. They have bought into the bunk. They don't realize that something has come along and corrupted the facts, even in diet. It's amazing how people don't read and don't see and don't understand and allow a guru, a BSer, to literally come along and mislead the whole principles of what health is all about. And then we get sucked in because we believe they're reliable sources. And then you have to question yourself, if that minority is affecting the FDA and health protection branches and the ministries of health and the health environment in all countries, who's funding the gurus? Who's funding them? Who's funding the gurus to possibly give you bad information? Who? Could it be the same people? After all, you are at war. After all, you are being assaulted. You can tell you're being assaulted because of the genetic damage that's occurring in your bodies. Hardly anybody I know is healthy. Everybody I know is suffering from some kind of health issue. This is preposterous. This should not be happening. Yet here we are in this day and age with the most advanced labs on the planet, and we got more sick people than we can shake a stick at. And they're dying. So the question then leads me to think, why would this minority do this? And I'm going to let you look for this minority. I'm going to let you look for this minority. I will give you a hint. They do control the media. They control all your banking institutions as well. They even control the military and countries. They control the United States and they control Canada, for sure. Okay? But it's not the whole people that are doing this. It's a minority. And this minority used to bow down to a bull. Some god bull, Moloch, I believe. And they bow down to the god of Baal, another demonic. Interesting. You ever read the account of the people of Israel when they came out of Egypt? You ever read that? I read it and I think to myself, brain damage. Total brain damage. Because nobody has done for them what God has done. I mean, these people have seen God in the most utmost. I mean, the blood and the water and the flies and the frogs and, blah, and the firstborn dying, 3 days of darkness, and the enchilada of them all. The enchilada of them all. They go through the Red Sea. It's parted. 3 million Jews walk through it. I'd have been saying, wow, this is cool. Look at the aquarium we have here. Wow, look at that orca. Look at this. Look, I'd have been just flabbergasted. That's the scientist in me. They get through it. Moses tells Aaron to watch over these people. He says he's going to have a one-on-one with the Great One. He's up there 6 months, comes back with the tablets. What does he see? He sees them bowing down to a bloody cow. That's brain damage. That's total brain damage. Because, and I know why it happened, because they had 300 years of programming. But it's the same people that bow down to that bloody cow that's still bowing down today that are controlling these issues. And this is something you need to understand. Why, when somebody asks me the question, aren't they going to get infected? Aren't they going to get involved? Are they? They're waging a quiet war against the planet, and nobody's aware of this. And so as a result, you go about your day and your business thinking all is right in your world, or all is right in whatever, and you are being assaulted. Chemtrails are a form of genetic assault. The towers that they're putting up in the 5G is a form of genetic assault. The genetics, the epigenetics, the transgenetics that they put in your food and your vaccine is a genetic assault. This is to basically corrupt creation at the core. And this is a violation to God, the living God, not this bloody bull that they're bound down to the living God. And you need to be aware of this factor, because nanobiology and nanotechnology is part and part of this genetic attack or assault on all of us. And you need to realize and recognize how that's being done, how that's being propagated. And why is it that this stuff and its lethality is being allowed to be in the environment, commercial or otherwise, in your water, in the streams, in the farmland? I mean, they're spraying nano silver in the farm. They're spraying glyphosates on the farm. They're spraying 2D-40 on the farm, or 2-D40. They're spraying, sulfur fluoride in the silos, spraying lithium in the skies, which is going on your food supply. I mean, this is an all-out assault on your DNA. And yet, if I tell you that you could take Epsom salt and borax in a solution, you can neutralize some of that lithium coming down on you, you can neutralize some of that aluminum that you're being exposed to, they would have a heyday that you have this information to protect yourself. If I told you you could create a triangle, a coiled triangle or a coiled bucket to remove this nano abomination out of our bodies and to stop the genetic damage, they don't want you to hear that either. Why? They don't want you to protect yourself. They want you to succumb to the violation of your genetic code being completely corrupt. Come on back, and we're going to see more about how we can maybe offset the war. What do you say? Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to The Remedy. I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. I want to point out, too, in the middle of the show, I may as well get to it right now, that the Micro Effect has got a drive going for the satellite feed. So if you can help them in any way, shape, or form, by all means do so. You got to remember, the truth has to get out there some way, somehow. And it doesn't get there because of Joe's good looks. I mean, if that was the case, he'd have it everywhere. So the idea is, help. The adage I always say: don't ask what you can do. Don't ask what your activists can do for you. Ask what you can do for your activists. This is an activist network, and it's out there telling you the way it is, how it is, and where it's at. And you're not going to get this on too many networks. There's too many of them are too compromised, and they want to sell you crap that doesn't do you any good. And it's best to help somebody who's legit. I mentioned that earlier about the gurus. There's so many gurus out there right now that are propagating so much nonsense in the health industry, and yet they get supported by so many people that shouldn't be giving them any support. And sometimes I think they're getting supported by powers and principalities that are, again, using them to target the rest of us. So when you get a legitimate network like this one, hey, give them something. I mean, what the heck? You know, if 10,000 people gave $1, that's $10,000. That would go a long way, I'm sure, in getting that satellite network and feed up. All right, just something I want to present so that those of you who are out there listening, you know, think about it. I'm not sure what the network is reaching right now, but if, say, there's 10,000 of you out there and each sent $1, hey, goes a long way in making a mountain move. All righty. All right, I was talking about studies. I want to get into this a little bit too. Study questions animal data underlying many clinical trials. A study is based on flimsy evidence would needlessly put your health at risk and potentially waste money. That's what a lot of these animal studies have done, and that's what's going on right now in the health food industry. But your trust might be misguided according to a new study. So-called investigators' brochures, the documents that researchers produce to convince regulatory agencies and ethical review boards that a proposal trial is worth the risk, are often lacking crucial information about the efficacy of the proposed therapy in animal models. As a result, it's often impossible to tell how good the evidence is. This is going on not only in the pharmaceutical with the drugs and that crap, it's also going on now in the nutraceutical, which is the vitamins and supplements and some of the things that you're buying in the health food store. Why is soy in a protein powder? If I'm buying a whey protein powder, why are they putting something loaded with glyphosates in my product? You ever think that? You know, when I go to a store and I'm looking for a protein product or a colostrum product, I don't want an added feature I don't like soy. I don't want soy. I don't want pea protein in my product either. I don't want rice protein in my product. I don't need anything estrogenic in my system. I got the pea and soy protein are identical as far as the damage they cause, from thyroid to esophageal to digestive to even estrogen effect. They're both highly estrogenic. Same with the rice proteins. They're very estrogenic. Why would I want to eat them? You know, this makes absolutely no sense to me that this is even being marketed. And why is it mixed with whey protein? See, this is what I'm saying. And they give you a study saying that, well, it helps with better assimilation. My backside, it does. It's a filler they can put into those containers so they can charge you more money for less product. Takes up volume, takes up space. That's why they're in there. And they have absolutely no health value whatsoever. And those proteins in the protein powders will actually bind with some of these contaminants they're putting in there and help deliver them more readily into the system. This they don't tell you either. The work shows that decision makers for ethics related to clinical trials don't get the information they really need to evaluate these preclinical trials. Animal studies lacking scientific rigor, they are often prone to biases, for instance, and are sloppily reported in a scientific journal. Well, you get that all the time. You're told when you buy a supplement, the suggested dose of that supplement is maybe 1 to 2 a day. 500 milligrams, 1 to 2 a day. The actual studies that were done on the animal studies said that when you transfer them over to human studies or people studies or mankind studies, and transferring over from animal to mankind, that you actually needed 5 to 10 times more than what they suggested. So they're telling you use 500 milligrams twice a day. You would need 2.5 to 5 grams twice a day in order to get the efficacy that they're telling you you would get if you took the supplement. This is an important fact that they forget to tell you. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? You know, and then you wonder why. Then you wonder why the supplement isn't doing anything. It's not working. I'm not feeling nothing. You know, I'm not getting better. That could be why. Investigator brochures are the main source of information for institutional review boards. The ethical panels, the green light trials, the institutional review boards are also included, along with many pages of other information. In drug trial application, with regulatory agencies such as U.S. Food and Drug Administration in Silver Spring, Maryland. Investigator brochures aren't public documents, but a team led by Daniel Stretch of the Center of Ethics and Law in the Life Sciences at Hanover Medical School in Germany asked the chairs of 6 IRBs at German medical faculties whether they could see them, provided they signed confidential agreements and promised to report their findings in a way that would not identify the individual trial sponsors, researchers, or candidate drugs. They said 89% of the studies were not published at all. Can you believe that? Additionally, fewer than 5% included important information on whether bias-reducing methods such as randomization of the experimental groups were used. They report today in PLOS Biology. This could mean that the studies weren't set up to avoid bias, or that the measures were not reported in the investigation brochures, for instance, to keep the packets concise. Lastly, 82% of brochures only reported studies that had positive effects. Hey, this vitamin is going to give you an erection from heaven. You'll be able to do push-ups with no hands. This vitamin is going to give you the biggest, bustiest set of breasts ever, and you'll be firm and you'll look 20 years younger. This supplement is going to give you the tightest tush that you've ever seen. This vitamin is going to make you reverse your aging 100 years. They're not telling you the other side of the coin, but it will, in order to do all these things, it is going to corrupt your DNA. Or there's a side effect that you might not want to, partake of. If the studies aren't positive, then you wouldn't go to an IRB to do a clinical trial. In other words, they're going to jade them to be positive. And that goes on with the drugs. How many of you have been using pharmaceutical drugs for 20 years or so and have nothing but health issues? And the moment you get off those drugs, all of a sudden you feel better. But then you go back on them again because of some guilt thing that you get because your doctor told you to take the drug. My doctor told me to take the drug. Oh. Doctors are men and women. They are beyond perfect. They're not perfect at all. They're beyond flawed, if anything. And their whole theme is to propagate or promote the positive effects of the drugs. This is a new drug that we're coming out with, a new experimental drug. This might actually work for you. This might actually help you solve your situation. We have no trials on it. We have no tests on it, but we're pretty sure based on what we get from the drug, from the brochure that we got, that it could help you in your condition. Have you heard that before? This is where it's at. You ever watch the stock market exchange and you see the commercials in between? When I go visit my mom, we watch the stock market. Every stock market exchange is about some kind of drug or sex. Viagra, Cialis, testosterone cream. Every commercial, it's unbelievable. Like 10 minutes, you get 3 commercials in 10 minutes, and they're all about sex for the men. Obviously, men can no longer function. Small wonder. So just think about that for a minute. Think about that. The drugs are being propagated. Wow. All right. We are at war. I've been saying this for quite some time. We are at war. And there is no discharge from war because the war that's going on is a hidden war. And you happen to be the enemy. You happen to be the one getting assaulted. You happen to be the one getting targeted with frequencies and targeted with genetics and targeted with epigenetics and targeted with towers, targeted with cell phones, targeted with toxic nanotechnology that has never been actually tested. You are being hit with plastics in the ocean. You are being hit with vaccines. And if you don't get vaccinated, this minority put pressure on your legal institutions to force you to take on the vaccines. You have to learn to say no, number one. You have to learn that if you are going to have an opposition to the war, you better have other fellow warriors or soldiers with you. because you are at war. In the church, they call it a fellowship. In the military, they call it a platoon. Same thing, just different vernacular. And you may want to look at getting a lobbying group together, getting a network built up in your area. Guy told me when I was doing the Green Show that there was an area he was working with where the people had a lot of money, big money. And they were pulling their resources together and going after the government to get the chemtrailing to stop in their area. Now, they tried to do something to their water table through some kind of construction of a dam, and they got together and told the government to, they told us something that we speak in Canadian tongues. Can't repeat it on the air. But anyway, basically they told the government, back off. And they did, because they saw the power that these people had and that they were together. You're going to have to form a network. No question about it. The only way you're going to be able to stand up to a military activity that's going on today is to form a network with each other and to be studying this stuff so you can know how to, again, shut it down, turn it off, how to protect yourself, how to filter out the food supply, what you can really eat, how to neutralize what you're eating, how to neutralize the stuff you're being exposed to, from chemtrails, nano poisoning, nanoparticles, the whole 9 yards. You have to understand how your DNA works and what can cause a great deal of damage, and how to come up with an antidote to again, repair the DNA or to keep the DNA intact. This is where we're at today. We're no longer in romper room. We're no longer in kindergarten. They're up in university level, and we're still in high school. So we need to, again, step up to the plate, because we cannot afford to be ignorant today. Can't afford it. Your kids cannot afford to get a vaccine today. Can't afford it. The genetic damage and the interface with the nanotechnology and the nanobiology, once it gets on inside of them, is extremely difficult to pull out. Somebody contacted me a while ago. It was on Three Hearts Church. She was reading it. And some of you have gotten your children vaccinated because of fear or whatever. And then you ask me if I can chelate a child that is 2 years old or get it out. Problem with that is this: children are growing and they need things to be put in. When you use some of these stripping agents to pull this stuff out, it could cause a child some maybe irreparable damage because of what you're doing to the DNA as well. So you could save yourself a lot of grief by not having them vaccinated. Keep them at home. Find a school teacher. There was one in Toronto I was talking to, and I said, you're going to market niche here. If you open up a homeschool and homeschool a bunch of kids, parents would love it. Now, if you are school teachers out there, I'm going to tell you, there is a niche there. There are a lot of people that would give you their children to educate and homeschool because they don't want to put them in the school system, but they're trapped because they got mortgages and car payments and insurances, so both families have to work. So the school system becomes the babysitter. But what if they could give the child to a school teacher or an ex-school teacher or whatever, and they taught your child outside of the normal parameter? That could be interesting. You got a school teacher that's homeschooling your children. Again, these are things that you're going to have to look at and consider. I hear all the nonsense, well, it's not good for the child, they won't develop, blah, blah, blah. You know what? That's so overrated. So overrated. Your kids are mingling with other kids who have got brain damage, who are being dealt with or contorted with frequencies. How many of you got a kid bully in your school system? Did you ever think quite possibly that bully is being targeted with frequencies to act that way, to cause a fear and intrepidation in your other children around him? something to think about. Send your kid to school, and all of a sudden, he or she's being intimidated by somebody because that young child is being affected by frequencies. It's something to consider as a means to an end, as a means to, again, get your kids educated. I found it has been proven that kids who stay at home are far, far, far more intellectual, smarter, and pass the exams with higher averages than those who don't go to they go to a public school system. So you might want to think about that. Something for you guys to collaborate on, come up with an idea. I think children today should understand how to use a gun. I really do. I think they should know how to use a gun. They should be able to, they're learning how to use an iPad, for crying out loud, which is interfering with their brain cells. So if they learn how to use a gun and learn how to respect the power of a gun, they'll never have any issues with a gun. Okay, it's when the kids don't know anything about guns. They watch a John Wayne movie and they think now they're like John Wayne. They're shooting everything up. So I think it's something that it may not be a bad idea to teach your kids. Teach your kids how to defend themselves against different biological agents, nano agents, or an integration of biological and nano agents. These are things your kids are going to have to know. This Lyme disease that they're pumping out there is not Lyme. It's this technology. It's nanobiology. But they got everybody again believing nonsense. Time to wake up. All right. As I stated earlier, the Micro-Effect Broadcasting Network has got a satellite feed on the go. Help them out. Keep them going. Support them any way you can. Keep the network alive. See how much more we can reach and get people awake to the reality of what's going on today. You got Bye Bye Blue Sky and myself, both two activists, and Brian396, another one in Canada. So if you want to check out our sites, so you can see and learn about the assault that's going on mankind in regard to nanotoxicology, nanobiology, and synthetic biology. So check us out. Each site, byebyebluesky.com, my site, augmentedforce.com, as well as you can check the Podomatics, independz.podomatic.com, and then Brian has shows as well as sites at Brian396. You will learn a lot from these sites. It will help you go a long way. Don't freak out because you see something there that may cause a freak out. That's normal, but you will see what can be done, and lots can be done. Again, if you need any help from me, check out my site. Click on the catalog link. Feel free to access the catalog. And if you need a consultation, you can send me an email, and we can go from there. We'll set things up so we can talk and further help you find a solution. All right, I will leave you with this. 90% of the health issues today, if not 100%, is all tied to this technology. All of it. It's been in the food supply since the 60s. It was around in the 50s. Someone told me they found it in 1929. So they have adulterated us with this technology for quite some time. Don't allow yourself this luxury because you don't see a gun or a bazooka going off that you're not at war. The best wars that are fought are silent but deadly. If I don't know you're there and you're attacking me quietly, I'll die in your arms. Won't know what killed me. That's the way it is. So I would suggest, like I said, you access the information on my site, other sites, learn what you're being assaulted with, and then go from there to protect yourself, because we are in a war, a big one. We are in a big war, and the God of this planet is using his gift to basically deceive the planet. So again, don't get caught up in the deception. Stand your ground. Hold what's true. Don't back down. If you've got the truth, that's all that matters. All you got to do is tell. And don't try to convert anybody. Tell them the truth. Let them look it up. Let them look it up. That's better, because then when they find out for themselves how bad things really are, they will freak and they will flip and they will get it. They will get how their DNA is now working against them. You know, that's the unfortunate reality today, that they've got our DNA working against us. They've got our genetic code working against us, and they keep on feeding the things that cause the genetic anomalies to occur. Again, it's important that you understand that there's powers in numbers. Those of you who are targeted individuals, I was talking to one guy today, and he said, by the time you go through this and go through that, you're too tired to do anything. I understand that. I do. But I'm going to tell you something. If you don't network with other TIs, you're going to be popped off one by one by one. There won't be any of you left. And everybody needs to hear the story of what's going on with you guys and how you're being targeted and where you might think it's coming from even. Okay? Because majority of people today are still asleep. They got their hands on their, underneath their backside, and they're just sort of swinging their legs around in life, and they don't have a clue. And if you form a network, your voice will carry further, way further. So, where are we at? So I'll leave you go with that concept. Networking is going to be key to survival. And if you network with people, everyone should be on board doing research, finding out what you see, seeing what's there, and then doing something about it. All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Till then, take care.